A chilling wind howls around a solitary, snow-covered house, its windows dark against the night. Inside, a young man writhes in agony, a faint blue glow emanating from his body as he desperately cries out for help. The pain intensifies, a searing torment that racks his entire being. His eyes wide with terror as he confronts the terrifying thought of his own demise. Through a frosted window, the desolate, snow-covered landscape stretches endlessly, a voice questioning if the source of his torment lies out there. His bright blue eyes glow with an unnatural intensity, reflecting the strange energy within him. Suddenly, Estio finds himself plummeting through a vast, frozen expanse, the world a blur of white and gray as he falls deeper into the desolate, snowy void. He shivers uncontrollably, a chilling sensation running through him as a soft blue light emanates from his wide eyes and outstretched hands. Standing alone in a desolate, snow-covered expanse, he can only shiver, the cold biting deep. His small figure trudges through the deep snow, each step crunching softly in the overwhelming silence. The vast, sparkling white landscape stretches endlessly around him, his boots sinking into the pristine snow with every heavy step. Until he spots something, his eyes widening in surprise as he looks down at a familiar black cat, wondering what it could be doing here. The cat lets out a low growl, then chokes, a spatter of blood appearing near its mouth. A sharp, cracking sound echoes as his hands begin to glow with the same intense blue light, reaching out instinctively towards the injured creature. He gently places a glowing hand on the cat's head, a silent comfort offered in the harsh, cold world. He remains lost in a desolate, snow-covered landscape, the mysterious blue glow still emanating from his form. Even in this ethereal realm, he senses the lingering presence of his dreams, a silent echo of his inner world. Back in the waking world, the morning light filters softly through a circular window. A rhythmic thumping sound accompanies the quiet, as he stirs restlessly in his sleep. The thumping grows louder, punctuated by a frustrated voice complaining that it's cold. Terriot's face fills the view, his patience clearly worn thin as he demands, "How long are you going to sleep for? You bastard." Another sharp thump accompanies his exasperated plea. "Just tell me already." Finally awake, Estio sits by the window, his gaze distant as he contemplates the world outside. He stirs, a faint blue glow still clinging to his form, his eyes fluttering open. Standing over him, his brother Terriot demands to know how long he intends to sleep, reminding him of the day. Terriot's frustration is palpable. Estio, still half asleep, can only manage a soft murmur, his hand reaching out instinctively, a faint blue light still emanating from his fingertips. With a sharp tug, Terriot rips the blanket away, forcing Estio to sit upright. Annoyed, Estio mutters under his breath about his damn brother. He sighs, the last vestiges of sleep leaving him as he fully awakens. Now standing, wrapped in his blanket, he gazes out a nearby window. His expression is thoughtful, lost in contemplation. Today marks the day of the coming-of-age ceremony, a tradition held every year in their small town. It's a joint celebration for all young men and women turning 15, a rite of passage that marks their transition into adulthood, and it serves to strengthen the bonds of the community. However, for Estio, the ceremony feels like just another day, with no fun festivals or celebrations to look forward to, only the weight of expectation. He stands by the window, lost in thought, as his sister Rosette approaches him. Rosette gasps, a hand flying to her mouth in surprise. She exclaims, "I thought it was a ghost," her voice laced with genuine alarm. Then, a new concern crosses her face as she leans in, asking, "Wait, why do you stink so much?" Their father, now joining them, adds his own observation, "You look way too unkempt." He then reminds Estio, "You might be a grown man, but you're still my son." Rosette, still concerned, tries to reassure him, "It's whatever, we'll just pretend you're not here." But then she admits, "It's just embarrassing to be seen with you." As the snow continued to fall, his father and Rosette prepared to leave, reminding him to follow them to the ceremony. He watched them go, a quiet complaint forming in his mind about the expectation to wear clean clothes for the event, a task that felt particularly daunting in the frigid air. The thought of washing himself in the cold water from the well outside made him question where he was even supposed to do such a thing, the chill already seeping into his bones. Outside, the world was stark and frozen, bare branches reaching towards a pale sky. The small house stood amidst the snow, the well a silent sentinel in the foreground. Inside, he finally stripped down, his gaze fixed on the bucket of water, bracing himself for the inevitable chill. With a determined sigh, he began to scrub his back, the cold water a sharp contrast to his warm skin. A shiver ran through him as the icy liquid made contact, leaving him momentarily stunned by the biting cold. After his reluctant bath, he found comfort in the familiar presence of Suki, who curled up in his arms with a soft meow. Having finished his frigid bath, Estio calls out to his feline companion, wondering where he might be. A shiver runs through him, the cold still clinging to his skin. From a higher vantage point, the black cat, Suki, observes him, a knowing gaze in its golden eyes. As Estio begins to dry himself, Suki approaches, pushing a small, glowing object towards him, leaving him to wonder what it could be. He looks down at the strange item, questioning where the cat could have possibly found such a thing. Pressing for the truth, Estio receives a simple, yet unhelpful, answer. Suki merely received it. With a determined push of its paw, Suki nudges the glowing object closer. The cat then looks up at him, declaring its intention to gift the item to Estio. Now resting in a small pool of water, the object radiates a soft, ethereal glow as Estio stands nearby, contemplating this unexpected offering. He stares at the mysterious object in his hands, a soft blue glow emanating from it, leaving him utterly bewildered. Suddenly, the object flares with blinding intensity, a sharp, high-pitched sound piercing the air as a voice cries out in alarm. Suki, perched comfortably on his shoulder, insists it's a gift, her golden eyes gleaming with an almost mischievous intelligence. He holds the black cat close, still trying to process the implications of a talking feline and a glowing, mysterious artifact. Later, wrapped in a warm blanket, he finds himself alone with his thoughts, the weight of the day settling upon him. He recalls Suki's words, a small smile playing on his lips as he thinks of her unusual kindness. The memory brings a moment of warmth, but the underlying mystery of the object and his cat's true nature still lingers. He can't shake the feeling that this cat is truly extraordinary, and the thought of conversing with an animal still feels utterly surreal. He recalls the day he found the glowing object, a small bag of seeds, or perhaps a piece of fruit, promising a strong harvest, yet there was no way to know the true nature of its power. The cat, Suki, simply does what she wants, and now, perched on his shoulder, she greets someone named Furia, remarking that it has been a while. Suki then turns her attention to two other cats, asking one if he didn't just have babies, and warning the other, Ricky, to be careful because it's cold, eliciting a playful "Ha, that tickles," from the cat she called Ben. Watching her interact with the other animals, Estio can only stare, a single question forming in his mind. Suki? A soft rustle of leaves echoes underfoot. As Estio stands, his gaze fixed on something before him. A young woman with long blonde hair looks back at him, her expression one of mild confusion as she utters a name, Bella, then trails off, unable to recall anything further. Estio's own voice is filled with a mix of surprise and concern as he asks, "Who are you?" It was just as he had expected. He looks down at his own reflection, his eyes glowing with a faint blue light. As the painful truth settles in, she doesn't remember him. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through his thoughts, calling out his name with a hint of surprise. Bella, looking at him with a curious expression, asks if he's heading to the village today, to which he confirms he was just about to leave. Without hesitation, she suggests they go together. Soon after, the two are seen walking side by side, making their way towards the village. The scene shifts to a bustling tavern, where a server enthusiastically offers freshly poured drinks to the patrons. The air is filled with cheerful chatter and the clinking of mugs, as the server continues to move through the crowd, ensuring everyone has a drink. The lively atmosphere is palpable, with patrons gathered around wooden tables, some even spilling their drinks in their revelry. A close-up reveals a drink overflowing, a small detail in the midst of the tavern's boisterous energy. Back at home, the old man muses aloud, wondering about something. His daughter, Rosette, then asks directly where Estio might be. The old man grumbles about the lazy bum, while Rosette explains that he's been taking an unusually long time to wash up. Elsewhere, Estio sits with Ricky, surrounded by Terriot, Furia, and Bella. As Terriot suggests they simply start without him, a sentiment Furia quickly echoes. Both Terriot and Furia affirm their agreement, ready to proceed. Back with the old man, a smile spreads across his face as he holds a drink, proposing a toast to cheer themselves up since waiting is no longer an option in the cold. Meanwhile, Estio, carrying a backpack, moves through a bustling crowd, his back to the viewer as he navigates the busy street. Bella, looking around with a slight frown, announces that she hasn't arrived yet. Estio continues his journey through the crowded area, his destination still unknown. "Aha, that's right," Terriot exclaims. "We should wait for her." Rosette agrees, wondering aloud what she's like. Just then, Bella makes her entrance, walking alongside Estio. Terriot and Rosette are taken aback as Bella playfully remarks that she thought they wouldn't want to see her, adding that she was about to leave, but her patience snapped. "What?" Terriot cries out, while Rosette asks if she tripped or is hurt anywhere. Bella calmly assures them, "I'm fine." Estio's eyes widen slightly, a hint of surprise in his expression. "It's been a while," Bella says, turning to Estio, "Louis." Terriot stares at Estio, questioning, "He's really Estio?" Bella offers a subtle, knowing smile, her hand gently touching her chest. A sudden, jarring sensation rips through the present moment, transporting her back to a memory of running hand in hand with a younger Estio, who urges them onward with a determined call. But the scene shifts, and she is now running alone, her dress billowing behind her as she flees. The memory fades into a desperate question, a child's plea for her mother, as the world around her darkens. Years later, the memory continues, with an older Bella walking away from Estio, who pleads for her return, promising a shared dinner. His heartfelt declaration of love hangs in the air, met with her own sorrowful, reciprocal farewell. Estio embraces her tightly, his voice filled with anguish as he questions her departure, her name a repeated, mournful echo between them. The name Bella shatters into fragments, a painful memory breaking apart. Her face contorts in distress, as she declares herself utterly fed up with it all. She was sick of all the stories about a charming prince who would cherish her, sick of the endless waiting for a love like something from a novel. A love that felt like something from a novel. Now, facing him, she could only utter his name, a question hanging in the air. He turns away, his voice laced with a quiet apology, asking if she's angry that he's leaving. With a final, regretful glance over his shoulder, he offers a quiet sorry, before continuing on his way. She quickly denies it, her voice filled with desperation, insisting that's not what she meant. Her face contorts in anguish, the weight of her emotions overwhelming her. Meanwhile, Estio, now alone, maintains a stoic expression, as if trying to convince himself he saw nothing. Years pass, and a joyous cheer erupts, celebrating the children of Selbia who have now come of age. A hand holds a simple wooden cup, suggesting a moment of quiet reflection or a simple drink. Estio, now clad in a pristine white robe with golden trim, looks down with a slight smile, acknowledging something with a quiet, before offering a sincere, thank you. Furia dismisses the gesture, waving a hand as if to say, it's nothing, though she admits to almost being made fun of earlier, implying that his escort was merely a natural consequence of the situation, and therefore, it's only natural, right? Bella, standing beside him, beams, remarking on his new attire, finding it quite fitting and a welcome change from his previous, more humble clothing, noting that it looks good on him, and it's been a while since he wore those old clothes. Furia's expression shifts, a subtle sip of her drink masking a deeper thought. Before she directly questions him, darling, did you buy that clothing? Estio turns away, avoiding her gaze, as Furia presses him. Do you think I'd wear that kind of clothing? Then where did he get that kind of clothing? Her voice rises in disbelief. There's no one wearing a robe in our streets. A knowing smirk plays across Furia's lips, her eyes glinting with a hint of suspicion or amusement. A neatly wrapped package, perhaps the source of the new, unfamiliar garments. Estio, still under Furia's scrutiny, finds her persistent questions about his attire continuing. I've never seen that design before. Or did? He hesitates, his expression unreadable, before finally offering a simple explanation. I got it as a gift. Bella, with a skeptical expression, questions the origin of something Estio possesses, remarking that she's never seen its design before. As Estio, with a slight blush, claims it was simply a gift, Bella continues to eye him suspiciously, her lips slightly parted as if to press him further. She then asks if he considers her a friend, before stating that while he has a good heart, it's not enough to receive such a present. Meanwhile, Rosette and her father watch the exchange with concern, joined by Furia and Tariot, as the father demands the truth from Estio. His words are followed by a pointed accusation. You stole it, right? He stands, now clad in an ornate, hooded robe, its intricate patterns shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Whispers ripple through the gathered crowd, their faces a blur of suspicion and awe. A faint trace of blood streaks his forehead, his expression a mask of profound distress. The villagers murmur about a gift from the gods and question how a mere farmer's son could possess such a thing, as he collapses to the ground, overwhelmed by the accusations. A desperate cry of denial escapes him, his pleas barely audible as he remains on the cold earth. The whispers continue, debating his true nature, but he slowly rises, his gaze fixed on the ground. His brother, Tariot, steps forward, his voice laced with accusation, demanding to know if he stole the gift just to impress them. The entire family watches, his father, Rosette, and Furia joining Tariot in their judgment, their collective voices branding him a freaky bastard and questioning the origin of his mysterious possession. Internally, he can only offer a silent, desperate refusal to their accusations. He could only silently protest, knowing deep down that he hadn't stolen anything. Meanwhile, Bella watched the unfolding drama with a somber expression, as a heavy thud echoed through the room, drawing Estio's gaze downward. Then, a furious voice cut through the air, commanding, "Take this, monster." Before he could even fully process the words, Tariot launched an object with a swift, whistling motion, shouting for him to dodge. Estio's instincts screamed, his eyes widening as he narrowly evaded the projectile, which instead struck something behind him, splashing a crimson liquid across the floor. His ornate robe swirled around him with the sudden movement, as the hanging lantern, now pierced, began to drip the ominous red fluid onto the wooden planks below. With a final thud and a pained cry, the lantern shattered completely, its contents pooling into a growing crimson stain. The mysterious red liquid, now freed from its container, begins to drip and splatter onto the floor, then onto Estio's face, as a chilling sound echoes through the space. His father and Rosette recoil in horror, a monstrous reflection visible in his father's wide, bloodshot eye, as he cries out, "It's a monster! A monster!" Estio gags, a visceral reaction to the substance, and his eyes begin to glow with an ominous red light. He remains still, the crimson liquid staining his features. His father, overwhelmed, calls out for his own father, "Father!" while Rosette, equally distressed, cries for her mother. "Mom." Even Tariot, his brother, calls out to him, his own eye briefly reflecting the same unsettling red glow. Brother. Then, Estio turns, a wide, unsettling smile spreading across his face, his eyes burning with a malevolent red, as his family stares back in utter terror. A robed figure reflects on a secret hope they once held. But now, it seems, that hope has faded. Meanwhile, Estio's hand reaches out, his face contorted in a silent scream, as if releasing a torrent of suppressed emotion. Then, a chilling, guttural laugh echoes through the room, a sound that twists into a maniacal cackle. His mouth stretches into a wide, predatory grin, revealing sharp, pointed teeth and eyes that burn with a malevolent red glow. As he fixes his unsettling gaze directly forward, his hands clench, a silent resolve hardening within him. As he mutters, "Let's leave." The destination is irrelevant, for it truly doesn't matter where he goes. All that remains is a singular, desperate plea. A primal urge to simply want to live. Leaving the familiar behind, he steps into the biting cold of the snowy wilderness. Each crunch of snow beneath his feet echoing his solitude. As he ponders, which way should I go? His gaze falls, lost in the swirling flakes, a reflection of the uncertainty within. He trudges through the deep snow, the only sound the rhythmic crunch of his boots against the frozen ground. Suddenly, a faint creaking sound breaks the stillness, suggesting another presence nearby. Looking up, Estio sees a carriage, and a voice calls out, asking if he's traveling by foot in such bitter cold. He stands beside the snow-covered vehicle, considering the unexpected offer. The driver, a kind-faced man bundled in warm clothes, simply urges him, "Get in." After a moment of contemplation, Estio turns towards the carriage, accepting the ride. The carriage begins to move again, its wheels clattering softly as it resumes its journey. Now seated inside, Estio gazes out at the passing landscape, the warmth of the carriage a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. The carriage wins its way through the snowy mountains, a swift passage through the desolate wilderness. He sits in quiet contemplation, his gaze distant, lost in thought. A memory surfaces, of his hands gently cradling a small, dark form. A familiar black cat curled up, letting out a soft, plaintive meow. His eyes widen slightly in the memory, a quiet exclamation escaping him, "Suki." As the image of his empty hands returns him to the present, the weight of his past settling upon him. He remembers the night of his coming-of-age ceremony, the moment he finally left his hometown behind. A rustic, wooden cart sits abandoned in a desolate landscape, hinting at a journey's end or a new beginning. With a soft click, Estio pushes open a heavy wooden door, revealing the dim interior beyond. His eyes widen slightly, a thought crossing his mind about the intriguing sight before him. As he settles onto a nearby bed, a man with fiery orange hair looks down at him, commenting on his ability to sleep through the biting cold. A wide, knowing grin spreads across the man's face, as he questions Estio's surprise. He continues to tease, asking if Estio's reaction is simply because he's a cute kid. The man's dark, flowing cloak and red tunic suggest a traveler or perhaps a rogue, adding to the mystery of his presence. He glances around the rustic room, a question forming in his mind about the guard of this place. As the orange-haired figure observes him, remarking, "So you're a quiet one." She continues, a hint of boredom in her voice, "Something. We went through the trouble of letting you in, but you're so bored." A soft chuckle escapes her lips, her expression shifting to a teasing smile. Still, he remains silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. Finally, he breaks the quiet, "I'm Estio." His new acquaintance tilts her head, a confused expression on her face. "Esto," he responds with a frustrated silence, clearly annoyed by the mispronunciation. Winking playfully, she finally introduces herself. "The name's Lena." Still teasing, Lena mispronounces his name, drawing out the syllables in a playful challenge. He looks up at her, a slight frown on his face, asking if her antics are supposed to be amusing. Lena turns her head away, a thoughtful expression crossing her features, before she looks back at him with a sudden declaration. She tells him plainly that she likes him. Estio's face remains impassive, offering only a quiet, almost imperceptible, NOP. Lena, however, finds his reaction utterly delightful, a hearty laugh escaping her. Composing herself, she then asks him about his plans, wondering if he's heading to the city. For a young country boy, it's easy to get caught up in the moment, not thinking too far ahead in life, especially when you're just trying to survive with your body. Estio confirms this sentiment, admitting he hadn't thought that far ahead. Still contemplating the young man's potential, Lena muses, "Even with the talent, I can't protect anyone like him, or talent." She then turns her attention to Estio, who kneels before her, playfully remarking, "By the way, looking at you, you're just a kid. Just by the looks of you, I don't think you can do any heavy lifting." A wide smile spreads across her face as she adds, "I'm good at handling animals." Her expression shifts to a more serious one. "Are you trying to get into a circus?" she asks, as Estio looks down, seemingly about to protest. "Don't do it. I don't think you." He looks up at her, clarifying, "It's not like that." But Lena bursts into laughter. "What do you mean? Are you a mind reader?" Estio's thoughts drift to the harsh words he's heard throughout his life. "I've been called a bastard, a failure, and a goof. So can you read my mind too?" He continues his internal monologue. "It looks like no one has similar abilities like mine." As he reflects, Lena's hand gently rests on his leg, a silent gesture. He considers the burden of his unique ability, the power to read others' memories and thoughts. A power that has haunted him since childhood, as he recalls a blonde woman's voice echoing, "I see and hear you, though I don't want to," followed by a red-haired man's stern declaration, "A power you shouldn't have." Lost in these troubling memories, Estio looks down, his expression heavy with contemplation. He sits cross-legged, still processing the weight of his past and the implications of his abilities. As the red-haired man's intense gaze from the flashback returns to his mind, a silent exclamation marking his disapproval. In the present, he remains hidden, peeking cautiously from behind a large pillar. His eyes scanning the ornate hall, observing his surroundings with a quiet intensity. The memory of the red-haired man's dynamic leap flashes again, a powerful, almost aggressive movement. Suddenly, a voice cuts through his thoughts, calling out, "Oi, Esto," startling him into a questioning glance. Estio pushes against a heavy door, peering into the unknown space beyond. As he looks up at the grand structure, a voice beside him asks, "What is it?" Lena explains that the Merchant Guild members are facing a problem, though they don't seem hungry, as they aren't asking for food. She acknowledges the truth in his observation, a hint of frustration already creeping into her expression. 3 hours later, the city remains bustling, but their wait continues. Estio stands by a cart, while Lena sits slumped against a barrel, both clearly weary from the prolonged delay. He sighs, lamenting that it has already been 3 hours. Lena, standing nearby, wonders aloud how they are expected to wait in such cold weather. Her patience completely gone, she declares that she might die of frustration. He wished he could simply read their minds, to understand what was truly happening. Suddenly, a voice cut through his thoughts, calling out his name with an impatient edge. Before he could react, a hand clamped down on his arm, pulling him forward with surprising force. Lena declared her intention to move. "Let's go," she commanded, leaving him to stammer. "Go? Go where?" As she continued to drag him past other onlookers, Lena challenged him to use his supposed wisdom to understand the horse's thoughts. He internally protested, realizing he had no such ability, and wondered why she considered him wise at all. Still being pulled along, he tried to argue, but Lena simply slapped his arm, silencing his protests. His annoyance was palpable, while Lena's determination remained unwavering. As Lena continued to pull him along, their path was suddenly interrupted by a cloaked figure who barked, "Oi, move." The voice echoing with urgency near a horse, "You're going to die if you stay." Meanwhile, Estio, still half asleep from being dragged, remained oblivious to the commotion. Finally stirring, he looked at Lena, who seemed to be ignoring his presence, and pleaded, "Wait for me, please." The full weight of the situation then dawned on him, as he resignedly concluded, "I'll have to ride the horse." A cloaked figure, his wide-brimmed hat casting a shadow over his face, stands atop a large, ornate carriage, announcing his intention to inspect the horses. Leaning down, he fixes his gaze intently on the intricate details of a carriage wheel. Still examining the vehicle, he pauses, as if sensing a presence or an interruption. Nearby, Estio and Lena stand together, with Estio offering a quick assurance that the inspection will only take a moment. The cloaked figure hums thoughtfully, his attention still on the carriage, before turning his focus. The perspective shifts to the horses, patiently waiting in their harness. The rhythmic sound of footsteps echoes as the man in the hat approaches the animals. One of the horses lets out a soft whinny, acknowledging his presence. Estio gently strokes the horse's mane, his brow furrowed with concern as he asks what's wrong. Its head bowed and bridle taut. A sigh escapes him, his expression growing more troubled. The horse's voice echoes in his mind, a panicked whisper of fear, warning him that danger lies ahead. He presses, trying to understand. Scary and dangerous? What is it? The horse's mental image is a jagged, terrifying presence, described simply as big and sharp. A glimpse of something dark and monstrous flashing into view. Estio embraces the trembling animal, hearing its lament for all those who had cared for them. A shadowy, fanged beast, its form barely discernible, lets out a low, guttural growl. The chilling telepathic warning from the horse still echoes in his mind, a stark blue energy rippling around him. As he and Lena look up, their gazes fixed on something unseen in the distance. A gasp escapes him, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and dawning comprehension. Lena turns to him, her voice laced with concern, asking if he heard it again. His hand instinctively points skyward, indicating the direction of the impending danger. She recounts the rumors of a monster with scarlet eyes and black fur, while he confirms its immense rage. A grim realization settles over Lena, knowing that if they are attacked, heavy casualties are inevitable. She places a comforting hand on his shoulder, reminding him that the horses stopped to warn them, giving them a chance. As they stand by the cart, the weight of the revelation hangs heavy in the crisp, cold air. Lena describes the creature, its fur white all over, with long claws and tails, as she looks up towards the ominous mountain. Turning to Estio, she questions, "There's a monster up there?" Her voice drops, filled with doubt. "How are we supposed to believe such a thing?" Estio remains silent, his back to her, his hand unconsciously gripping his own clothing. As rumors of a snow-covered mountain, a place of dread, spread through the village. He finally speaks, his gaze distant. "Which can be?" Estio turns, grabbing Lena's arm with urgency, his eyes wide as he reveals, "A moment. I know of one more creature." He looks down, a name forming on his lips. It's a Wakamama, call it. Lena muses aloud about the creature, describing it as a white fur monkey. As she and Estio stand together in the cold, winter air, she acknowledges it's a rare species, but considers the possibility of it being present here. Estio questions the idea of a monkey in such a frigid climate, noting that he'd heard such creatures were popular among nobles. Lena insists that even a glimpse of its glowing red eyes would be enough to pique any hunter's interest. She tries to reassure him that there's no reason to be afraid, and that a reward awaits them for investigating. Estio looks surprised by her persistence. As Lena turns to face him directly, with a determined expression, she tells him he's coming along with her. As the group of adventurers prepared for their journey, a voice declared their readiness, signaling the start of their expedition. Observing the skilled individuals, Lena remarked on their impressive abilities, a hint of anticipation in her tone. Meanwhile, Estio stood beside his feline companion, Suki, a silent question hanging in the air as he pondered their next move. Lena, however, was ready to move, asking if it was time to finally depart. Still confused and reluctant, Estio questioned why he was even being forced to join her. Ignoring his protests, Lena simply grabbed his arm and began dragging him along, his surprised cry echoing behind them. As they ventured deeper, a chilling realization dawned. The creature they sought was far more dangerous than a mere white fur monkey. It was likely a violent monster, or perhaps something even more sinister, its shadowy form crackling with ominous blue energy. He had escaped the village, yet now he finds himself falling, swept up in something entirely new. His ability to perceive the true intentions of others, a gift he never asked for, meant he never truly got close to anyone, especially those who harbored selfish or animalistic emotions. And now, that person, Lena, is forcing him into another dangerous situation. His own family had been torn apart by this very ability, so he decided to blend in, to become just another face in the crowd, never letting anyone realize he could read their innermost thoughts. He decided not to become interested in other people anymore, even if they seemed to trust him completely. With each step, the weight of his past decisions presses down on him. The memory of a distressed face, a reminder of why he built his walls so high. He continued his reluctant journey, walking alongside Lena through the biting cold of a desolate, snow-dusted landscape. Their footsteps crunching softly on the frozen ground. The path ahead remained shrouded in a thick, chilling mist, obscuring their destination. A low, whistling wind swept through the barren expanse, causing Lena to glance back, a hint of unease in her posture. Suddenly, a faint, ethereal glow pulsed from the ground beneath them, accompanied by a soft, unsettling hum. The air grew heavy as gnarled, skeletal trees loomed in the deepening twilight, and a deep, resonant growl echoed from the darkness. They paused, the young man's gaze fixed intently on the unseen threat ahead, while Lena watched him, her expression a mix of concern and anticipation. With a determined look, he raised a small, glowing artifact, a sight lamp, to pierce the gloom. As the lamp's light cut through the oppressive shadows, a brilliant flash erupted in the distance, revealing a powerful, radiant glow that promised either salvation or further peril. His steps carried him forward, the red sash around his waist swaying gently with each movement. As he and Lena stood before a towering, cloaked figure with dark horns, all three gazing into the ominous distance. A soft, almost questioning sound escaped him, his bright blue eyes reflecting the strange new environment. But before they could react, a massive, clawed hand ripped through the shadows, its rough, stony surface hinting at immense power. And a monstrous face with glowing red eyes materialized from the gloom, its voice rumbling with a chilling promise. "I will kill you, human." The golem's declaration hung heavy in the air, its crimson gaze unwavering. A monstrous white beast, its red eyes glowing ominously, lets out a guttural sound. Before snarling with contempt, "You humans." Estio's eyes widen in shock, an exclamation escaping him. His body tensing, ready for action. The beast's glowing red gaze intensifies, its predatory focus unwavering. Estio, along with others, recoils, a collective cry of disbelief echoing. In no way. For one to truly grasp the feelings of such a creature without physical contact, it must possess an exceptionally potent will. Estio's gaze falls, his expression tightening as the sheer weight of the monster's murderous intent presses down on him. A chilling realization dawning upon him. That creature's intent is undeniably hostile. The white beast lets out a guttural roar, its voice echoing with pure malice as it declares, "I'll kill you, humans." Lena places a hand on Estio's shoulder, her voice urgent as she insists, "We have to turn back now." Golem turns to her, a skeptical tone in his voice as he asks, "Saying?" He gestures towards the monster, stating firmly, "This is the only path." Lena, however, presses on, wondering if there's any other monster besides this one. Golem shakes his head, confirming, "No, there isn't, but it's..." His grip tightens on his sword, his resolve hardening. As the group continues their cautious advance, Estio and Lena move through the desolate landscape, their cloaks blending with the shadows. Suddenly, a new presence emerges from the gloom, a woman with dark purple hair, her expression unreadable beneath a beret. Her hand instinctively goes to a dagger at her side, and a sharp, singular word cuts through the silence. Estio, his hood now down, turns to face her, his brow furrowed in confusion as he questions her strange remark. Before he can get an answer, the ground trembles as the white beast unleashes a guttural roar, its massive form radiating raw, untamed power. The sound reverberates through the air, a terrifying display of its immense strength. Reacting instantly to the danger, Lena grabs Estio, pulling him sharply away from the beast's immediate threat. He stumbles back, his face etched with shock and alarm, the sudden movement disorienting him. Lena, however, stands firm, her gaze fixed on the monster, confirming its identity with a resolute declaration. The mysterious purple-haired mage, her eyes glowing crimson, begins to gather a potent, red energy around her. A challenge escapes her lips. You think just white fur is enough? Meanwhile, Lena, moving with incredible speed, closes the distance. The white beast, however, has already seized Estio, holding him captive. The purple-haired mage rushes forward, a blur of motion. She unleashes a volley of glowing red orbs, swirling around her. The magical projectiles slam into the white beast, erupting in a series of powerful explosions, even as it still clutches Estio. Lena skids to a halt, her momentum carrying her just past the beast. Then, with a fierce strike, she lands a direct blow on the monster. The white beast lets out another guttural roar, its red eyes burning with primal fury. Meanwhile, Estio continues to advance through the cavern, the rhythmic thud of his footsteps echoing softly, unaware of the immediate danger ahead. The beast's monstrous cry reverberates through the space, a chilling sound that promises destruction. From a shadowed vantage point, the purple-haired mage observes the unfolding chaos, her presence a silent, watchful force. Suddenly, Estio's eyes widen in terror, the full horror of the situation finally dawning on him. Lena, too, watches the scene intently, her expression grim as she prepares for her next move. With a surge of power, the mage unleashes a torrent of crimson energy, a vibrant wave of magic erupting towards the white beast. The beast recoils from the impact, its roar turning into a pained cry as the magic strikes true. Seizing the moment, Lena launches herself forward, delivering a powerful kick to a nearby golem's chest, the force of her blow echoing through the cavern. As the purple-haired mage stands ready, Estio, having witnessed the chaos, turns his attention to a new, looming threat. With a rumbling roar, a massive, shadowy claw descends, targeting the mage. Reacting instantly, Estio sprints away from the immediate danger, his heart pounding with each thumping step. But instead of fleeing, he pivots, extending a hand towards the monstrous golem with a desperate plea to stop its advance. He then faces the enraged white beast, attempting to soothe its fury, assuring it, "It's all right. Please, calm down." The beast, however, only snarls, its eyes burning with untamed aggression. Its growl deepens, a guttural sound of pure rage. Estio watches, his expression shifting from calm to alarm as the beast's hostility becomes undeniable. In a sudden, brutal move, the white beast seizes him by the head, lifting him effortlessly into the air. An orange-haired adventurer, mid-swing, shouts a warning to the approaching threat. But before his attack can land, a brutal impact sends blood splattering. The beast tears into his leg, and the adventurer screams in agony. Suddenly, Estio, now free from the beast's grasp, unleashes a powerful burst of crimson energy, striking the white beast with a decisive blow. Wounded by the unexpected attack, the creature turns and begins to flee, its escape swift and desperate, dashing away through the rugged, rocky terrain. Seeing the beast retreat, the purple-haired mage's expression hardens as she commands, "We have to finish it off." Estio's hand glows faintly, preparing for the chase. Estio sits alone, his mind racing as he questions his recent actions, wondering what he was truly thinking. His gaze fixed on nothing in particular, he remains lost in thought, the weight of his powers settling heavily upon him. He recalls the white beast's momentary pause, a brief hesitation that allowed his intentions to pierce through its defenses, even if only for an instant. The image of the injured creature flashes in his mind, a chilling thought that it might lose its life because of him. Overwhelmed by a wave of fear and guilt, Estio clutches his head, the desperate cries of mom echoing in his mind as he feels utterly terrified. But amidst the turmoil, a flicker of resolve ignites in his eyes, hardening his expression as he makes a crucial decision. He has to go. The snowy path ahead, leading into the dark, foreboding woods, awaits his determined footsteps. With a deep breath, his eyes still wide with a mix of fear and resolve, Estio prepares himself for the journey. Stepping into the cool, damp air of the cavern, Estio observes the glowing blue crystals embedded in the rock walls, concluding that no warriors have yet ventured into this quiet space. His gaze sweeps upward, searching the cavern's depths. When a faint, metallic tang reaches his senses, a distinct smell of blood hanging in the air. A desolate, snow-covered world stretches beyond the window, its silence broken only by the gentle fall of flakes. Estio reaches out, his fingers brushing against the cold glass, a silent acknowledgement of the harsh beauty outside. Soon, he finds himself amidst the biting cold. Standing before the massive, white-furred beast, its imposing form a stark contrast to the quiet snowfall. He takes a deliberate step forward, approaching the creature with a calm resolve. As a soft blue aura emanates from him, shimmering particles begin to swirl around, connecting him to the beast, a profound link forming between them. He realizes with a jolt that he is witnessing the white beast's own memories unfolding before his eyes. The vision transports him to a vast, snow-laden forest, a silent, ancient landscape etched into the creature's past. In the heart of a snow-laden forest, three massive white beasts stand silently, their forms blending with the stark winter landscape. Nearby, Estio lies motionless in the snow, his body still from the intensity of his recent vision, as one of the great creatures watches over him. The beast's gaze is steady, devoid of malice, as the young man remains unresponsive. A soft snore escapes Estio's lips, while a purple-haired mage kneels beside him, her expression etched with concern. She observes his peaceful, albeit unconscious, state, the white beast still a silent guardian in the background. Her hand gently reaches out, her fingers brushing against his forehead in a tender gesture of assessment. Now holding a small black cat in her arms, the mage continues to watch over the sleeping Estio, the white beast still patiently nearby. She speaks softly to the feline companion, remarking, "Since our man is asleep, I'll show your name, Suki." The mage gently cradles Suki, her attention still divided between the small cat and the unconscious young man, as the white beast observes from a distance. A young woman with vibrant pink hair urgently whispers to Estio, her voice laced with fear. "Quickly hide," she insists, stumbling to the ground as three shadowy figures close in behind them, while Estio stands, his gaze fixed on her. His eyes, now glowing an ominous red, betray a surge of power within him, a low growl escaping his lips. Suddenly, the massive white beast appears, its own red eyes burning with intensity, letting out a thunderous roar that echoes through the confined space. A deep, rumbling sound emanates from its throat, filling the air with a primal vibration. Estio stares at the creature, his expression unreadable, a strange question forming in his mind. The beast's massive, clawed paw rests heavily on the ground, its presence dominating the space. Looking up at the imposing creature, Estio asks, "Mommy?" The beast responds with a firm, almost weary tone, "I am not your mother." Its red eyes narrow slightly as it then questions, "Who?" Standing before the towering white beast, Estio finally speaks his name, declaring, "My name is Estio." The beast echoes his name, its voice a low rumble, then questions, "Estio, did Estio come to kill me too?" Its red eyes fix on him, demanding to know, "Then why?" Estio looks away, his expression uncertain, admitting, "I don't know either. I just felt like I had to come here." The beast's gaze hardens, a deep sorrow in its voice as it reveals, "Humans, they killed my family." It continues, a mix of understanding and confusion in its tone, "I know. But why?" Estio ponders the question, offering a simple, yet profound, answer. "Maybe it's because of money." The white beast tilts its head, the concept foreign to it, asking, "What's money?" Estio's eyes widen slightly, a dawning realization crossing his face as he murmurs, "If there's a thing called money, then I can get to meet Mommy and my whole family. No, it's impossible." The white beast, its eyes narrowed, questions if revenge is truly possible. Estio, standing before it, considers the implications of its words, wondering if such a thing could truly be possible. A sudden, painful realization dawns on the beast, its eyes widening as it connects its suffering to the concept of money. A guttural scream of anguished tears from its throat, echoing the depth of its despair. Estio, enveloped in a soft blue glow, bows his head, the beast's cries resonating deeply within him. The beast lets out a pained gasp, a single tear tracing a path down its cheek as it struggles with its grief. Estio, looking down at his own hands, admits to himself that he was incredibly foolish, having once harbored hopes of reuniting with his family. But as he approached the grieving creature, all those past hopes and concerns faded into insignificance. Estio sits in the cold, snowy expanse, a faint blue glow emanating from him as he acknowledges his own culpability, realizing he had been manipulating the beast's emotions. He questions the extent of this newfound power, a power to control emotions he barely understands himself. Yet, the memory surfaces of a time he used it, telling the beast not to be angry, confirming his ability to read and influence feelings. He understands now, but seeing the beast still distressed, he wonders why his control isn't working, why it still feels so terrible. Through the desolate, rocky landscape, a lone figure makes his way, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness. Suddenly, he stops, a flicker of recognition crossing his face as he calls out. The black cat, looking rather disgruntled, is scooped up into his arms. A thought bubble above its head betraying its true feelings, annoying, really. After a moment, the cat leaps from his grasp and begins to walk away, prompting him to express his relief, only for Suki to retort, "I'm glad you're all right. I'm not so weak as to be helped by a kiddo." Undeterred, he offers to carry the feline, who simply replies, "Of course." As he carries Suki, he looks ahead, pondering their next move. Where are you going? Before his thoughts drift to the white beast he left behind, what about Niju? The black cat, Suki, stares ahead with an air of defiance, its voice firm as it demands to be left alone. As Estio walks through the desolate, snowy landscape, carrying a bundle, Suki walks beside him, complaining that it is hurt and will surely die if people find it. Estio looks down at the cat, asking if it truly intends to freeze to death out here. He then suggests they return to the cave, to which Suki reluctantly agrees. The cat turns its head away, remarking on Estio's shrewdness. As Estio continues to walk, a thought crosses his mind, to think that the cat could abandon itself. He questions what it means by that. Estio looks down, concluding that Suki believes everyone will abandon it anyway. So you're not expecting anything at all, the small cat muses, its golden eyes fixed on him. He leads the way into the cavern's dark maw, the cold biting at their heels. As the black cat follows closely behind. Deeper inside, he reaches out, his hand gently brushing against the creature's fur, before settling down with a small, worn bag. He sits in the dim light, his gaze distant, then pulls the cat closer, murmuring, "It's cold." A quiet realization dawns on him. Right? I'm the one who's always been alone. A small black cat looks up, a silent wish echoing in its mind, to desperately return to the past. Standing over the small creature, Estio observes the cat, a soft glow emanating from the snowy ground beneath its paws. A quiet realization settles over him, a single word forming in his mind. Perhaps a memory, or a vision of its true power. The black cat appears as a majestic tiger, its form wreathed in a vibrant blue aura. Later, as Estio sleeps soundly, the small cat rests on his chest, a silent lament for his sickness filling its thoughts. A pair of eyes, glowing with an unnatural green light, snap open, reflecting a deep, primal fear. The memory shifts, revealing a younger Estio resting against the massive, dark form of Suki, who lies coiled like a protective shadow. But the image distorts, focusing on Suki's maw, a terrifying display of sharp fangs and predatory power. The scene changes again, now in a sterile laboratory, as a voice coldly identifies a subject as N1251, observing that it fails to follow orders, its instincts proving too strong. A scientist, observing a younger Estio in a lab coat and Suki in its tiger form, dismisses the subject as useless, despite any improvements in its performance, reiterating the designation N1251 for the ongoing experiment. The monstrous image of Suki's fanged mouth returns, as a chilling command echoes, "Kill it." Amidst a splatter of blood, a pained voice whispers, "It hurts." Estio, trapped in suffering, desperately pleads, "I don't want this. Help me." A hand reaches out, trembling, begging for release. From the ethereal, snow-dusted forest, a small, dark form emerges, landing softly on the pristine white ground with a faint thud. It is Suki, the small black cat, resting peacefully amidst the swirling, icy mist. But as midnight approaches, a powerful transformation begins, the small feline form expanding into a majestic, formidable black tiger. Estio's thoughts drift to the past, remembering the one who gave an abandoned failure the name Suki, a name that would forever bind their fates. He recalls the cat's fur, the same dark color as his own hair, a silent connection forged in shared solitude. A younger Estio, cradling the small cat, reflects on their bond, the only person who truly saved him. The memory lingers, a fragment of a name, Ki. Suddenly, the powerful black tiger stirs, rising to its full, imposing height with a decisive movement. Back in the present, Estio sits beside the now transformed Suki, gently asking if it has finally awakened. Estio sits beside the massive black tiger, offering a heartfelt thank you, while Suki, in its powerful form, acknowledges that it was able to rest until the biting cold thanks to him. As the tiger form begins to dissipate, Estio looks down at the small black cat now resting in his lap, asking if it hurts anywhere, then quickly reassures it that he himself is not hurt. A faint blue glow emanates from the tiger's hind leg. As the powerful form shimmers and shrinks, dissolving into particles of light around Estio, the small cat looks up at him with a questioning gaze, a soft kyup escaping its lips. Its small, black head tilts slightly, observing him intently. Estio sighs in relief, noting that it's good to see the cat safe, then wonders how long it intends to maintain its smaller form. He reiterates his relief, confirming that it is now safe. Standing, Estio expresses his happiness that Suki is back to normal, acknowledging it's been a while, and then, with a hint of concern, asks if any other groups are approaching. Estio, having just finished his conversation, gently pats Niju, bidding the white beast farewell. But then, the white beast Niju suddenly speaks, calling out to him. Estio flinches, a surprised sound escaping him as Suki, perched on his shoulder, looks on. Niju, looking up at him, expresses a clear desire to join him, wanting to go along. Estio looks back, questioning if the beast truly intends to follow him. He hesitates, considering the implications. He admits that while he doesn't truly mind the company, the journey ahead could be dangerous, and he lacks the strength to protect them both. Niju lets out a questioning sound, then proudly declares its strength, promising to protect Estio, who tries to interject, realizing the beast has misunderstood his concern. Standing together in a desolate, ruined place, it becomes clear that Niju doesn't want to be left alone. The white beast continues, explaining that he is heading to the city where he was born and raised, then asks if Estio wouldn't be angry or scared to be there. A soft humph escapes Estio, while the beast simply stares, awaiting an answer. He considers his own feelings, thinking he might get angry if he were to see the enemy who killed his family. His ornate robe hangs heavy, but the beast, seemingly oblivious to the depth of human emotion, simply states that it doesn't care about those humans. It then adds that Estio himself had told it that. Looking directly at the creature, Estio warns that he might try to kill it. To his utter bewilderment, the beast beams, asking if it can be angry in that case. Estio stands frozen, a single word escaping him, as his cat companion looks on. Still reeling from the bizarre encounter, Estio kneels, holding Suki close, his voice filled with a mix of frustration and disbelief as he demands to know what the creature intends to do next. Soon after, he finds himself traveling alongside two robed figures, their identities and purpose still shrouded in mystery. The journey continues, until a grand city, Galasia, appears on the horizon, its towering walls and intricate architecture promising a new chapter in his journey. They press on, making good time, arriving at the city gates just as dusk begins to settle. Two men await them, one greeting the travelers with a question about their long journey, their faces showing a mix of curiosity and concern. As they enter, Estio glances back, a hint of worry in his eyes, wondering if Suki has once again wandered off on her own. As Estio stands at the city's edge, a stern voice cuts through the evening air. A city guard, his uniform crisp and imposing, confronts him and the small, white-furred monkey at his side. The guard eyes the creature with suspicion, questioning its presence within the city walls, reminding Estio of the strict regulations against unpermitted animals and the need for proper transport. Estio glances at the monkey, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, as the guard then addresses him directly by name, offering him something with a firm but not unkind expression. Estio looks down, a flicker of hesitation crossing his features. The white-furred creature, Niju, looks up with a determined expression, thinking that if it decides to break free, nothing can stop it. Meanwhile, Estio reflects on the creature's nature, acknowledging that there's no way to truly know its frequency or reason, as the creature simply does what it wants. A soft sound escapes Niju as Estio gently places his hand on its head, a comforting gesture amidst their journey. As they continue through the city, a guard addresses them, stating that since they've just arrived, they should take good care of the creature. The guard walks away, leaving Estio and Niju to continue their path, with the guard's words echoing in the air. Estio looks down at Niju, a hint of sadness in his eyes, apologizing for the way it's being treated. Niju gazes back at him, its thoughts revealing a simple, heartfelt comparison. Estio is like Mommy. As they walk on, Niju continues its internal monologue, adding that Mommy also told Niju every day that she's sorry. Snowflakes drift gently over the city, painting the rooftops and distant mountains in hues of orange and purple as the sun begins to set. He recalls a time when he used to wonder what his mommy's apologies truly meant, always curious about her words. But every time he asked, she would never answer, leaving him to ponder until now, when listening to Estio, he finally understands. Mommy's apologies, he realizes, were a gesture of deep affection, a gentle embrace. The memory of her warmth still lingers. Estio, lost in thought, processes the creature's unexpected revelation. The city lights begin to twinkle as dusk settles, the snowfall continuing its silent descent. He sits alone on a bench, gazing out at the sprawling urban landscape, reflecting on the day's profound encounters. Estio, looking for opportunities, finds himself speaking with an older man who asks if he's still searching for work. The man suggests that going to the guild might be a better option for him. Estio, surprised by the suggestion, repeats the word, the guild? His white beast companion watches him intently as he considers the implications of such a place. A look of resolve settles on his face, his eyes gleaming with newfound purpose. The older man continues, explaining that they might offer suitable work, advising him to look for the guild in the center of town, which he believes is called Ignis. He makes his way through the softly falling snow, his companion walking faithfully by his side. Soon, the grand facade of the Ignis Guild comes into view, a structure impossible to overlook amidst the urban landscape. With a soft click, he reaches for the ornate doorknob. The door creaks open, revealing the guild's interior as he steps inside, his gaze sweeping across the new surroundings. A welcoming aura seems to emanate from within, as if a guiding hand reaches out to greet him. Behind a polished counter, a cheerful receptionist smiles, announcing a warm welcome to the Ignis Guild and promising satisfaction to all who enter. He approaches the counter, inquiring about new guild members, to which the receptionist responds with a bright, "Oh, an applicant." She directs him upstairs to the second floor to fill out the application form, then adds with a slight chuckle, "Or perhaps you haven't learned how to read." As he and Suki turn towards the stairs, the receptionist's words echo behind them, "You haven't learned how to read." Having arrived at the Ignis Guild, Estio walks alongside a blonde woman, the sounds of the city fading behind them. Inside, the heavy guild doors creak open, revealing a grand staircase that he and the white beast begin to ascend. They reach the top, entering a spacious hall. Meanwhile, a mustached guild official glances at his wrist, a hint of impatience in his posture, muttering to himself. His attention is quickly drawn to the new arrivals, Estio and the white beast, who stand before him. The official's brow furrows slightly, as he begins to question their presence. He considers the young man before him, wondering if he might be an applicant. A smile then spreads across the official's face, finding Estio rather endearing, like a cute pumpkin. Estio, maintaining his composure, explains his purpose, stating that he came because he heard they were selecting new guild members. He confirms their presence, asking what kind of work they seek from the guild. The man behind the desk replies with a dismissive tone, "Well, you're not wrong." He then introduces himself as the Galatia branch manager of the Ignis Guild. The young man, holding out his identification, states simply, "I'm Estio." The manager then explains that a man named Norman should decide on his application, but that he's been overwhelmed with requests lately. He continues, noting that Norman should decide after reviewing the documents, but lately, they've been receiving too many requests. The manager sighs, admitting that at this point, he wouldn't mind asking a monkey for help. Estio stands patiently with the white beast at his side. Before the manager finally asks, "Estio, what's your hometown?" He reveals his hometown is the River region. The guild manager, taken aback, asks for clarification, wondering if the entirety of River is his hometown. He clarifies, asking which part of River the manager is referring to. The manager ponders, muttering Selbia to himself, before inquiring about his specialty, specifically if it involves animals. He advises against vague phrases moving forward, his pen scratching across paper as he makes a note. The manager thinks he needs to properly showcase his abilities, so he can arrange more appropriate work for him. Estio begins to explain his unique talent, stating he can read the hearts of animals. The manager's expression shifts as he processes the information, repeating the word animals with a thoughtful tone. His pen then presses firmly onto the paper, writing the word stop. An ability user? The white beast questions, her arm resting protectively around Estio. The guild manager, pen poised over a document, mutters, "But an ability to read the hearts of animals? I don't think I've heard of it before." Indeed, the world is filled with various ability users, from magicians and elementalists to alchemists and healers. They perform miracles through the use of mana, coordinating with elements, or employing special skills, and there are many types of them. However, there are only a few recognized groups of people with such powers, and they can usually be classified into a few categories. But the ability Estio just mentioned is unique, fitting into none of the established classifications. The manager strokes his mustache, finding it difficult to comprehend. Even people, but animals, this is a bit. Estio watches him, a slight frown on his face. Finally, the manager throws his hands up in exasperation, declaring, "Excuse me, but if I had known you were an ability user, you wouldn't have even gotten this far in the interview." The manager's thoughts drift, seeing Estio as a hidden card, a variable that could lead to a full house, or just a pair. He then suggests they make a small wager. His instructions are clear. Estio is to head to Shark Road and seek out the animal merchant. He assures the young man that any issues encountered should be within his capability to resolve. Estio simply nods, acknowledging the task. The manager hands over a document, confirming it as proof of success, and tells him to return once it's done. With the task accepted, Estio departs. Outside, the guild hall stands silent under the night sky. Far away, a massive, white-furred leg, bound by heavy chains, awaits. Arriving at his destination, Estio finds himself before house number 3, Shark Road, the location of his new mission. As he and Suki walk down the desolate street, the small cat lets out a soft meow, its golden eyes scanning the surroundings. Soon, they come upon the massive, chained white beast, and Estio offers a quiet, heartfelt, "Thank you." The beast, its face etched with a mix of pain and longing, responds with a mournful, "Hugh." From above, the scene unfolds, the small boy and his cat standing before the immense, captive creature. The surrounding buildings loom over them, silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. Estio stands alone in a desolate, snow-covered landscape, the cold biting at his exposed skin. A low growl echoes through the silence, as two monstrous, red-eyed beasts emerge from the swirling snow, their forms hulking and menacing. His boots crunch softly on the frozen ground. When a towering figure with flowing white hair and piercing red eyes suddenly looms over him, radiating an oppressive aura that seems to drain the warmth from the air. The sound of footsteps continues, as another, smaller figure retreats into the distance, leaving him to face the giant alone. A shiver runs down his spine, as the colossal being gazes down at him, its presence overwhelming. Yet, a voice, surprisingly calm, breaks the tension, assuring him, "Don't worry, I won't attack you." Kneeling in the snow, Estio looks at the two chained dog-like creatures and the black cat, wondering if this surreal encounter is truly happening. A soft patting sound echoes as one of the dog-like creatures looks up at him. His expression shifting to one of disbelief, the reality of the situation begins to settle in. Standing now, he observes the creatures, a strange calm washing over him as his fear dissipates, prompting him to question their identity, finding it all very peculiar. As he ponders, the towering white beast from before reappears, its immense presence once again dominating the scene. The giant addresses him directly, asking if he is the Watchmacalet it was looking for. Suddenly, a man with a red scarf is seen, his face contorted in shock and fear. The white beast holds the struggling man effortlessly by his collar, lifting him clear off the ground. Estio, Suki, and the dog-like creatures watch the giant's unexpected display of power, the man dangling helplessly in its grasp. A guild official, his face etched with age, confirms his identity, stating he was dispatched by the Idris Guild. He explains that he brought the dog-like creatures, who had been attacked by a monster, and came to anchor them, before musing if Estio truly possessed a blessed ability. With a simple instruction, the official turns and leads the way, beckoning Estio to follow. They arrive at a large, barred enclosure, Estio peering inside with a soft thud echoing in the quiet space. Their footsteps continue to echo, moving deeper into the facility. Soon, Estio kneels beside one of the small, dog-like creatures, observing its distressed state. He questions the official, wondering why the creature thrashes so restlessly. The official explains it's a rare breed, difficult to acquire, and that its condition has worsened due to the monster's aura since his arrival. Looking down at the suffering animal, the official softly implores it to find peace. He stands alone, his gaze fixed on something unseen. As the guild manager joins him, both men observing the scene with a shared intensity. Before them, a small, dog-like creature lies helpless on the ground, clearly just a child. The manager's voice cuts through the silence, demanding to know why Estio is merely stating the obvious, warning him that if the creature isn't properly trained now, it will become a huge problem when it grows. Estio simply responds, "Is that so?" Meanwhile, his companion, Suki, watches the exchange, seemingly unfazed by the creature's plight. The manager gestures, continuing to explain the situation to Estio. The focus shifts to the creature's distinctive tail, prompting a question, but where exactly? A single tear escapes Estio's eye, his bright blue gaze glowing with an intense, sorrowful light. A wave of intense emotion washes over him, his body radiating a faint red and blue glow. A sharp pang of pain, not entirely his own, shoots through his leg, causing a red energy to briefly flare around him. As he cradles the small creature, his eyes glow with a vibrant blue, reflecting the purple aura of distress emanating from the puppy. "What's going on?" he exclaims, the guild manager asking if he's in pain, too, but Estio quickly clarifies, "No, it isn't me that's in pain." A sympathetic groan escapes his lips, his blue eyes shining with profound empathy. He looks down at the creature, confirming, "It's the puppy, it's not okay." As Estio continues to hold it, the puppy's purple aura intensifies, pulsating with growing distress. The creature's purple energy erupts outward, shimmering with blue particles as it struggles. Its eye glows with a vibrant, pulsating purple light, a clear sign of its profound suffering. Lost in a profound connection, Estio finds himself submerged in a shimmering, ethereal memory. A vivid echo of the Drake's past, as the manager's voice cuts through his thoughts. The Galatia branch manager, visibly agitated, demands to know why he suddenly stopped speaking. Estio, regaining his composure, explains that the creature's heart is currently melting. The manager stares back, utterly bewildered, dismissing Estio's words as nonsense, reminding him that drakes are known to inhabit cold waters. His frustration boiling over, he shouts that the creature will simply dry up and suffocate, calling Estio a bastard for his outlandish claims. Estio calmly corrects him, stating that drakes are actually desert monsters, while the manager continues to question his sanity. With a determined glow emanating from his hand, Estio reiterates his point. The creature's heart, made of ice, is indeed melting. The Galatia branch manager glares, his frustration evident as he listens to Estio's outlandish claims, while a bald man beside him fumes, calling the young farmer an insane bastard. He questions the very idea of an animal needing a frozen heart to survive, as a small, blue, spiky creature rests, seemingly oblivious to the heated discussion. The manager simply sighs, his expression a mix of disbelief and weary resignation, while the bald man ponders Estio's words, wondering if the frozen heart and mana refer to the creature's mana core. Meanwhile, the little blue creature stirs, its eyes opening slightly, as the manager's frustration boils over, muttering about the damn kid. Unaware of their disbelief, Estio grips a staff firmly, his expression resolute as he prepares to act. Back in the office, the bald man suddenly smiles, confirming Estio's assessment that the drake's heart is indeed frozen, much to the manager's visible shock. In a quiet library, a stern-faced man with glasses looks down at another student, his voice sharp with impatience. "Can't you take a hint? Go get some sunshine outside," he snaps, while in another corner, a pink-haired woman with glasses confronts a black-haired man, asking if he wants her to handle a task. Then a blue-haired woman warns him about being late with a report. The pink-haired woman then gazes intently at a small, glowing object held in her hands, as if contemplating its secrets, while elsewhere, Suki glows with an ethereal blue light, a chilling aura emanating from her form. This same frigid energy seems to encase a massive drake, its scales shimmering with frost and an otherworldly blue glow. Meanwhile, STO stands resolute, gripping his staff tightly, his gaze fixed on a distant point as he prepares to face the real one. An older man instructs STO to pour something into a water tank, to which he simply replies, "Okay," before the man scolds him, asking what he's doing and demanding he get more. The man continues to assert his authority, telling STO to stop talking back and just keep working until he says otherwise. Under the watchful eye of his supervisor, STO continues his task. Elsewhere, a small, blue, dragon-like creature with glowing yellow eyes, known as an ice drake, swims gracefully through the water. These creatures, with their distinctive fins and scaled bodies, are an almost extinct species. Even rarer than the common ice, there are ice crystals that don't melt, and these are the ones that form around the almost extinct ice drake, a creature that simply does what it wants, without any discernible pattern or reason. Meanwhile, STO, looking visibly annoyed, continues his arduous work, the rhythmic thud of his pickaxe echoing through the cavern. A stern voice cuts through the air, questioning his desire to unwind. He pauses, his expression unreadable, as the older man continues, reminding him that this is no time for rest. With a curt command, the man gestures for STO to follow. Soon, they discover a creature with a thorn painfully embedded in its foot, the older man observing that the creatures are terrified, making it best not to separate them. Placing a hand on STO's shoulder, he warns him that these creatures are the real deal. The older man hands something small to the white-haired child, who clutches it tightly. He warns the child not to lose it, while the child, looking up at STO, asks if he truly has to leave. STO turns to walk away, leaving the old man and the child behind. The child calls out his name, a soft query hanging in the air. As STO continues to depart, the child's voice grows more insistent, begging him to stay and promising to wait for his return. He pauses, hearing his mother's voice more clearly now, as the child asks if he is tired. Dismissing the thought, STO simply states it's nothing and suggests they head back. Together, they walk away from the village, their figures growing smaller in the distance. Eventually, STO finds himself alone, pondering his uncertain future and what awaits him next. As STO continues his journey, a chilling voice echoes in his mind, reminding him that a cursed child will always hear such strange things. His attention is drawn to a small figure on the cold, snowy ground. And the white-haired child, bound by chains, looks up at him with a startled cry, calling out his name. STO quickly kneels, his concern evident as he asks if the child is all right, wondering if the biting cold is the cause of his distress. Meanwhile, his loyal companion, Suki, watches from a short distance, observing the scene unfold. STO then sits, pulling the black cat close, a somber expression on his face as he cradles the creature. He reaches out again, asking the child what he is doing, noting that he doesn't appear to be physically hurt. With a gentle but firm tone, STO urges him to get up, warning that he will fall ill if he remains in the freezing cold for too long. As he speaks, his hand gently strokes Suki's head, finding a moment of quiet comfort amidst the somber encounter. He thanks Suki for not avoiding him. The cat looks back, questioning why it ever would. As STO remarks that it doesn't seem to like being touched. Suki flinches from his touch, but then, the cat's voice echoes in his mind, explaining that STO is different from other people. Confused, he can only utter a small sound. As Suki turns and walks away, telling him to do whatever he wants. The black cat continues its departure, leaving STO to ponder its words. Deep within his mind, a shadowy form of STO resolves that he will no longer avoid his unique nature, as the presence of the holy beast from before looms large in his thoughts. Suddenly, a telepathic voice echoes, calling out to him, STO. Back in the present, a hand carefully holds 2 gleaming gold coins. As the Galasia branch manager stares in disbelief, wondering aloud, that Ricky person not only gave 1 guild coin but 2? He then turns his attention to the young man before him, realizing, he's the real deal. Addressing him directly, the manager calls out, STO. A look of excited surprise spreads across the manager's face, as he declares with enthusiasm, from now on, you're a guild member, STO. I'll give you the guild registration badge and uniform, so make sure to wear them when you go on requests. With a nod, the young man simply replies, all right. Having completed his registration, STO holds up his new guild badge, a symbol of his official entry into the world of adventurers. The Galasia branch manager, however, offers a stern warning about the guild's facilities, advising him to stay home if he finds them unsatisfactory. Then, with a sudden shift in demeanor, he reassures STO about his companion, before instructing him to report to the training department the following morning. With the day's formalities concluded, the manager dismisses him, leaving STO to head off and rest. Later, as rain streaks down the windows of the guild's upper floors, the city outside settles into a quiet night. A small, dark bottle sits on a pristine surface, its contents perhaps a remedy for the day's exertions. STO himself finds solace in a warm bath, washing away the day's events amidst a sea of bubbles. Outside, the rain continues to fall, a gentle rhythm accompanying his quiet reflection. He examines his reflection, the crisp lines of his new guild uniform a stark contrast to his old farmer's clothes. The dark fabric and golden accents feel unfamiliar, a symbol of the new path he has chosen. A slight frown creases his brow as he wonders, is it weird? From a nearby perch, his feline companion offers a simple, reassuring assessment. Looks good. Later, lying in bed, the day's events replay in his mind, the weight of his new responsibilities settling upon him. He muses to himself, laying down like this, it's a bit neutral. His hand rises to his face, a soft touch tracing the contours of his cheek. As he concludes, no, it's different from before. Lying in bed, the soft light of dawn barely illuminated the room, leaving him in a quiet contemplation. A voice, or perhaps a thought, broke the silence, asking if he was truly asleep. His eyes slowly opened, confirming he was not. The unseen presence then probed deeper, wondering if he felt any regret, prompting him to question what exactly he should regret. The answer came, simple and direct, regret for following this new path. As Estio rests, the white beast's thoughts drift to his predicament, observing how his freedom seems to be deteriorating, a chain binding him even as people stare. She understands that the path ahead will only grow more difficult. Of course, he would resent such a fate, and she resolves to free him soon, high in the mountains. A soft glow emanates from her form, her presence a comforting, ethereal light. Then, standing tall, Estio looks back, acknowledging her unspoken promise. She stands beside him, a silent guardian, relieved that he would not be alone on his journey. As the white beast reflected on Estio's path, a gentle thought emerged within her, a quiet resolve to foster connection rather than animosity. Meanwhile, Estio, bathed in a soft, ethereal glow, found himself embracing a similar sentiment, believing he could live a life filled with affection for others. A quiet gratitude settled over him, a silent acknowledgement of the profound shift within his heart. During his time with her, he had come to understand that the world held many individuals and experiences worthy of his love, rather than his scorn. From his perch by the window, gazing out at distant memories of bustling streets and familiar faces, he felt a newfound strength, believing he had emerged from his trials a more resilient person. The white beast, observing his growth, knew this profound change was the true essence of his being. Time passed, and the scene shifted to a vibrant urban street, where a building proudly displayed a banner promising customer satisfaction. Sunlight streamed through a nearby window, illuminating the quiet anticipation of a new beginning. Standing tall in a refined, dark uniform adorned with gold accents, Estio now presented a determined and composed figure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. From a balcony above, a woman with pink hair gazes down, her eyes widening in surprise. Below, the Galatia branch manager greets Estio, remarking that he almost didn't recognize him, so different does he appear in his new attire. He then chuckles, commenting on how well the guild uniform suits him. The pink-haired woman, Rosalie, now closer, looks surprised, having expected the branch manager to be elsewhere. The branch manager turns to her, introducing the young man beside him as Estio. He explains that Estio is a new member who recently joined, but clarifies that he won't be working in the combat department or providing support. Rosalie, clearly confused, questions why an ability user wouldn't be assigned to either combat or magic. The branch manager remains silent, offering no immediate answer to her probing question. A hand extends, offering a bowl filled with colorful candies. The branch manager turns to Estio, offering him a small jar of colorful sweets, which Estio accepts, his gaze fixed on the sugary treats. A smile spreads across the branch manager's face, pleased that the young man knows how to enjoy himself. Estio muses that most people don't truly understand the taste of candy, but any way one eats it is the best way, a sentiment the branch manager seems to echo, confirming his own intuition. He continues his internal monologue about the necessity of giving, whether in times of dryness or wetness, concluding with a sudden exclamation. As Estio walks past Rosalie, the branch manager sighs, noting that he's off again. Rosalie calls out his name in confusion, but the branch manager quickly dismisses her concern, assuring her that he's always like this. Unconcerned, Estio pops a piece of candy into his mouth. The branch manager then instructs Rosalie to bring him some candy at the guild. He considers the situation, finding it rather amazing, a thought that echoes in his mind. The branch manager then asks him which department he believes needs assistance, a question he's heard countless times before. He is instructed to help with some paperwork, a simple task to get started. Soon after, footsteps ascend a flight of stairs, leading to a new area. There, Rosalie asks if he has seen her black rubber band, explaining that she cannot find it, to which he replies that he hasn't been looking for it and hasn't seen it. She laments that it would be nice to have one right now, a sentiment he understands. She reiterates her need for one immediately, and he acknowledges her plight. Rosalie then explains that if he possesses something, he can simply purchase another. After his previous conversation, Estio is given further instructions. He must follow to the guild stamp, ensuring he's mindful of a black rubber band, as just one set will be enough. And always, while he's outside, he's asked to buy both a black rubber band and a regular one, a request that makes Suki silently question the oddity of it all. With the instructions received, Estio offers a polite thank you to Rosalie. Soon after, he and Suki find themselves inside a grand, multi-storied room, its shelves towering high, filled with countless items as they begin their search. Spotting a tall ladder, Estio begins to ascend, Suki clinging to his back. Higher up, he calls out, "Excuse me," hoping to find someone amidst the towering shelves. Still searching, he mutters, "Huh? Where is it?" Only to hear a voice from above tell him, "Do excuse yourself. I'm quite busy right now." Perched on a high shelf, Rosalie triumphantly holds up a small item, exclaiming, "Nice. You found it," before adding with surprise, "Who would have thought it would be here?" As Estio finally reaches her level, Rosalie acknowledges his presence with a simple, "Ah, you're here." Still perched high on a shelf, the young woman looks down, surprised to find a customer lingering, asking if he was still there. But before he can answer, a sudden, guttural sound erupts from nearby, and the white beast appears, its red eyes glowing ominously. Terrified by the monstrous presence, she screams, clutching her black rubber band tightly. In her panic, her foot slips from the precarious perch, sending her tumbling downward. A gasp escapes her lips, her eyes wide with shock as gravity takes hold. But before she can hit the ground, Estio moves with impossible speed, catching her in his arms. Still trembling in his embrace, she can only utter a soft "monster" as her gaze falls upon the white beast once more. Holding her securely, Estio's expression remains calm and resolute. But for Rosalie, the immediate danger fades, replaced by a sudden rush of warmth, her cheeks flushing a deep red as she finds herself held so closely by him. Still flustered from the previous encounter, Rosalie offers a quick apology, admitting she's a bit afraid of animals, but quickly correcting herself, realizing the creature was actually a pet. Estio, holding the small black cat, gently corrects her, explaining that it's not a pet, but Niju, and asks her to say the name properly. Rosalie turns her head away, a blush still coloring her cheeks, clearly embarrassed by the misunderstanding. She looks back at him, trying to regain her composure, and asks if Niju is his friend. With a small smile, she finally introduces herself, revealing her name as Selly. Estio considers her for a moment, then mentally places an order for some hair accessories. Selly, still holding her composure, simply responds with a quiet, "Sure." Estio then turns and walks away from the counter, leaving Selly to her duties. As the chapter begins, a figure in dark attire steps into a new space, a voice requesting, "Just a moment, please." A young woman with vibrant pink hair, standing behind a counter, eyes him skeptically, remarking, "You don't look like a customer." But before she can say more, a sudden realization dawns on her, a small gasp escaping her lips. "Ah." The man calmly points to the floor beside her, indicating, "You dropped it over there." Scrambling to retrieve the fallen object, Rosalie exclaims, "Found it." Still seated on the floor, she looks up at him, a new curiosity in her voice as she asks, "Ah, wait, what's your name?" He meets her gaze, a slight smile playing on his lips as he finally introduces himself. "It's Estio." Rosalie, still engaged with him, asks if he would be using something before he leaves, prompting Estio to inquire about the object in her hand. Presenting a glowing blue orb, she excitedly explains it's a new product she acquired, a crystal ball capable of reading one's heart. She clarifies, referring to emotions, and elaborates that it reveals a person's feelings as colors, finding the concept quite romantic. To her surprise, he declares he needs it, causing her to question his sudden interest. Turning away from her, Estio explains his reasoning, stating that no one would ever want to read another's heart. As he begins to walk away, he concludes his thought, deeming such an ability the most useless in the world. Left alone, Rosalie ponders his words, noting that he sounds like someone who reads. A luminous blue orb, pulsating with an inner light, rests gently in a gloved hand. Elsewhere, a dark-haired figure walks away from a small, pink creature, leaving it to wander alone on the cobblestone path. Back at the guild, Rosalie stands beside Estio, both now clad in the formal attire of the organization, their expressions thoughtful. Estio, now in his new uniform, kneels to interact with a group of small, white, fluffy creatures, their innocent faces looking up at him. The Ignis Guild building stands prominently, its sign proudly displayed above the entrance. Inside, the Galatia branch manager calls out to him from the bottom of a staircase, greeting Estio with a familiar tone. Later, in an office, the manager confirms his suspicions, informing Estio that he will now be in charge of special support, a concept the young man struggles to grasp. The manager then hands him a document, Estio's gaze fixed on the task ahead. The document, titled Ignis Guild Special Support Request, details a peculiar plea from a 10-year-old named Sarah Fabian to make her puppy, which isn't listening, into a good puppy. His expression shifts to one of mild bewilderment as the guild manager continues to explain the peculiar nature of the special support request. The details, he admits, are a bit vague, and the writing itself is sloppy. But the core task is simple: train a puppy for a young girl, and success is paramount. Estio questions if such a seemingly low-level task truly warrants this special support designation. To which the manager clarifies that while it seems easy, the client's importance means there's no room for error. With a renewed sense of purpose, Estio resolves not to be fooled by the task's apparent simplicity, as the manager reiterates the need for his full heart and soul in this endeavor, ensuring a successful outcome. The true nature of the puppy is then hinted at, revealed in a jar filled with glowing, colorful orbs. Estio, now clad in more formal attire, arrived at the Ion Guild, a sense of anticipation settling over him. The massive structure loomed before him, its ornate architecture speaking of power and prestige. As he stepped inside with the white beast at his side, the grand interior unfolded. He glanced down at his companion, who seemed unfazed by the opulence. Approaching two armored guards, Estio stated his purpose clearly. He was there on a request from the Ion Guild, prompting one of the guards to demand the request form. After a brief inspection, the guard instructed them to follow. They proceeded deeper into the guild's expansive interior, the long corridors stretching out before them. Their footsteps echoed softly on the plush red carpet, guiding them toward their next destination. Beside him, the white beast let out a series of barks and growls, its presence a constant, reassuring rumble. He observes the scene unfolding before him, noting a sound like this, and comparing it to the previous dog he knew. This one is decidedly different. The small white dog, Hiru, barks aggressively, demanding to know why the human has come again. A young girl in a pink dress tries to calm him, calling out his name, even as Hiru snarls, "Begone, human." She reaches out, her expression worried as she repeats, "Hiru." The girl protests, a hand reaching out to stop him, realizing that he's a guest. Kneeling down, she tries to reason with the barking dog. Her face etched with concern as she softly calls out, "Hiru." Estio watches the chaotic scene, a thoughtful expression on his face. A young girl in a voluminous pink dress addresses him, stating simply, "I'm from Ignis." She then questions his presence, asking if he's a guild member, to which he confirms, "Yes." A look of surprise crosses her face as she remarks, "I thought a weak-looking old man would come," before adding, "So a weak-looking guy like you works at the guild as well?" Her gaze then sharpens, and she asks directly, "How old are you?" He stands silently, observing her with a neutral expression. Suddenly, a small white dog, Hiru, appears at the girl's feet, barking aggressively, its tiny fangs bared in a snarl. As the dog's aggression escalates, Estio's eyes begin to glow with an intense blue light. He looks down at the small white dog, a soft sound of curiosity escaping him. Meanwhile, a young girl with blonde hair and large red bows looks up, her eyes wide with wonder, exclaiming in awe. Her expression quickly shifts to shock as she identifies a massive creature, wondering aloud, "What in the world? Such a big monkey? It's Niju." Nearby, a dark-skinned attendant with striking white hair and glowing eyes observes the scene, a similar sound of curiosity or surprise escaping her. The young girl, however, is utterly charmed, finding the sight before her so pretty. The attendant warns her, "My lady, it's dangerous," but the girl dismisses the concern, declaring, "Monkeys are dangerous beasts. I'll take care of it, my lady." Smiling brightly, the young girl receives praise from her bowing maids, who affirm, "As expected of our kind and beautiful lady." Suddenly, Estio stands beside the young girl, now clad in a formal uniform, his expression one of utter surprise. His shock deepens as he questions the situation, muttering, "What are you doing?" "Eh." A young girl with blonde hair and striking red eyes, adorned in a pink dress, questions the ability to read the hearts of animals, wondering why Hiru is so hostile towards others. Rosalie explains that her master is always a step ahead of others. As Estio listens intently, his expression thoughtful. Nearby, Hiru whimpers, clearly frightened by something unseen. A white-haired man with piercing red eyes stands beside Estio, who gently holds Hiru, as the man politely requests a moment. Hiru's eyes are squeezed shut in distress. Estio stands composed within an ornate archway. Hiru looks up at him, still seeking comfort. He crouches low, his gaze fixed on the small, distressed creature before him. A soft sigh escapes him, as he considers his next move, while Rosalie watches from a respectful distance. His hand extends slowly, a quiet determination settling over him as he realizes he needs to make contact. A sudden thought flashes through his mind, questioning if the amplification of his ability will be manageable. His expression remains focused, his hand still reaching out. Gently, he takes the small creature's paws in his gloved hands, whispering its name softly. His grip is firm but reassuring. As he looks down at the creature, promising it no harm. Finally, he stands tall, the small dog now calm at his feet, Rosalie still observing the scene from a distance. A sudden memory flashes, revealing a young girl in a grand red dress, her eyes wide with surprise, held gently by an adult figure. Another fragment shows a white, furry paw being held by a human hand, a soft touch amidst the unfolding events. While a young Estio, clad in a formal black and gold uniform, stands with the same girl, her head bowed in apparent sadness. The scene shifts to a small, white puppy, Hiru, watching as vibrant blue magical particles erupt from the dark ground around him. A cold voice echoes, noting, only one this time, as the small dog is seen trapped within a confining cage. The detached conversation continues, dismissing the need for obedience and planning to find another scoop, before concluding with a harsh command to get rid of it due to its weak constitution. Alone in the darkness, Hiru whimpers, his small voice pleading, "Mommy, where are you? Don't leave." A figure walks away, leaving the abandoned puppy to cry out, a heart-wrenching call for his mother echoing into the void. From the shadows, a monstrous, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth emerges, a terrifying presence in the puppy's memory. Hiru, a small puppy, lets out a soft whimper, his eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and fear. He hears hushed voices, speaking of how puppies like him are merely a trend among high society. The instructions are clear: only feed it enough to keep it alive, nothing more. Another soft whimper escapes him as a hand reaches into his dark enclosure, a voice telling him to wait just a moment longer. He watches as the hand quickly prepares him, readying him for an unknown fate. Tears stream down his face, his small body trembling as he realizes the world is a cold and desolate place. Always, in that dark, lonely existence, he and his mom suffered together. He looks up, seeing his mother's back, her white hair flowing down her elegant dress, a vision of comfort in his despair. Suddenly, the scene shifts, revealing a young girl with blonde hair and red ribbons, standing by a window. Her name is Saralyn. Saralyn, with a gentle smile, entrusts the small puppy to the man before her, wishing for its new owner, Louis, to raise it well. The man, Kim, accepts the tiny creature, promising to raise it well, while Saralyn quietly hopes for a good home for the truly cute little one. But in a darker corner of memory, Hiru was once a curious, innocent angel. A soft hand reaches out to him, a voice encouraging him to grow big and strong. His mommy, White Beast, looks down with tenderness, telling him not to cry, promising to raise him well, for he is her puppy. She vows to protect him, ensuring no one can diminish him, and promises him a grand and graceful name, one he truly deserves. Her comforting words continue, pledging to make him happy and ensure he never cries again for the rest of his life. The dream shifts once more, returning to the present, focusing on the impeccable, gold-trimmed uniform of Kim. Saralyn stands beside him, holding a vibrant red ribbon, asking for his opinion on the item, which he seems to find lacking. Her voice trembling, Saralyn continues to speak of the puppy's plight, acknowledging the deep-seated fear within him. Kim listens intently, his expression unyielding. As he observes the small, sleeping form of Hiru, reflecting on the creature's inherent distrust, believing the puppy feels utterly unloved. His gaze remains fixed on the animal, while Saralyn's face twists with growing anguish, as Kim delivers a stark warning that one day, people will inevitably destroy it. The words strike a raw nerve in the young girl, reminding her of the tragic fate of its mother. Her hand clenches into a tight fist, a silent testament to her rising fear and anger. Saralyn gasps in disbelief at his harshness, but Kim turns to her, his voice firm, declaring himself the one who loves Hiru the most. He asserts that he would have treated Hiru even better, believing Saralyn's understanding comes only from reading about such things. As they walk through the grand halls, he then asks if she has ever considered how to alleviate Hiru's burdens. Saralyn's eyes widen in dawning horror, her voice barely a whisper as she questions if Hiru's mother is truly dead. Kim's gaze hardens, his eyes briefly glowing with an inner light, as he coldly explains that she was old, sick, and deemed useless for not producing more offspring. The weight of his words crushes Saralyn, who can only repeat that she was deemed useless. Her chin trembles, her composure beginning to shatter. Overwhelmed by the cruel reality, Saralyn bursts into tears, crying out that she simply didn't know. As she sobs, questioning what she's supposed to do with this knowledge, a maid gently reminds her to maintain her elegance. Watching the distraught child, Kim reflects that he only ever had good intentions, wanting nothing but the best for Hiru. As the harsh truth settled, a different scene unfolded, focusing on the bright blue eyes of a young man, his gaze sharp and observant. Meanwhile, Kim stood calmly, addressing Hiru, who remained faithfully by his feet. Elsewhere, a pair of feet stepped into shimmering water. As Estio emerged, looking upward through a cascade of luminous bubbles, his expression one of quiet contemplation. He stood fully within the ethereal blue liquid, surrounded by the gentle glow of countless rising particles. Inside a luxurious carriage, Saralyn gazes out the window at the passing, blurred landscape, while Kim steadily guides their journey. Suddenly, a small voice breaks her reverie, causing her to turn with a surprised, "Huh?" Hiru, the fluffy white dog, looks up at her, calling out, "Selly," and Saralyn responds with a questioning, "Yep." The little dog then confesses, "Honestly, it's a bit confusing, but Selly loves me, right?" Saralyn, her expression a mix of bewilderment and slight offense, asks directly, "You weren't harassing me or hating me?" Hiru stares up intently, her small eyes fixed on Saralyn. Kneeling down, Saralyn offers a gentle, "Yeah," before asking, "Hiru, can I hug you?" Saralyn gently cradles Hiru, her small body partially submerged in the shimmering water, as she reassures her companion, asking only that she not be lifted too quickly. Her hands, still wet from the embrace, reach up to gently stroke Hiru's head, a soft purr escaping the little creature. The soft touch continues, a quiet moment of affection between them. Finally, Saralyn lifts Hiru from the water, holding her close as they emerge from the shimmering pool. Later, Saralyn walks through a grand, opulent hall, her attendant following discreetly behind. The attendant's formal attire is impeccable, reflecting his dedicated service. As they continue, Saralyn offers a polite, if somewhat distant, thank you, to the attendant, who bows in response. She then muses to herself, wondering how she could have been so unaware of her own unique ability. The song Guild's blessing. All this time. Even though Hiru was constantly telling her, she knew the truth. Her father, a man of stern demeanor, confirms her realization, stating she wasn't wrong. Holding the small dog close, she asserts that the people who sold Hiru were the ones mistaken. A subtle shift in her expression hinting at a deeper understanding. Her father explains that Hiru simply misunderstood her intentions, being unaccustomed to such kindness. A radiant smile then spreading across her face, a testament to her joy. A guild coin is offered to her. As her attendant, Kim, reminds her not to get distracted on their way, while her father expresses surprise at her unusual ability. A young man, impeccably dressed in a dark uniform with gold trim, stands in a grand hallway. He turns to a tearful Saralyn, assuring her he wasn't trying to spy on her. Lewis explains that he was merely arriving home, holding a wrapped gift in his hands. Saralyn's father approaches, his expression etched with concern, having heard her cries from the garden fences. Lewis maintains a serious demeanor, his gaze unwavering. Saralyn, still sobbing, clings to her father, denying she cried and accusing Lewis of lying. Her father gently refutes her, explaining that even her elder brother heard her distress and was quite worried, then playfully adds that she's still quite strong. He then scolds Saralyn for being too loud, reminding her they have guests. Saralyn continues to cry as her father gently pats her head, offering comfort. Saralyn, the special support officer from Isness, confirms her identity to the young man before him, who then inquires about the nature of her abilities. She reiterates her position, a special support officer of Isness. Her father watches the exchange. As the young man continues, noting that the power she used to repel the monster was quite extraordinary, and again asks about its nature. It is then revealed that his own ability allows him to read the hearts of animals. Her father, now holding a small white dog, questions if it truly involves animals, to which Saralyn confirms. A subtle grimace crosses her father's face. As the young man declares, "How impudent." Her father then confronts him, asking if he understands the consequences of a commoner speaking back in front of a noble. Kim, now a prominent noble, stands beside an adult Saralyn, observing Estio with a scrutinizing gaze. He questions the young man, asking where the line is drawn between a soul and mere sentience, and what he classifies as an animal, especially when considering monster humans. Estio looks down, his expression troubled by the weight of the questions. Kim continues, asserting that if Estio's ability is merely to read hearts, then it would be nothing more than a parlor trick. Meanwhile, Saralyn sits calmly, cradling Hiru in her arms. The tension in the opulent room remains palpable. Estio, unable to accept the dismissal of his unique connection, exclaims his disbelief. Kim and Saralyn continue to observe him, their expressions unyielding. Kim then delivers a chilling statement, reminding Estio that the world is not as simple as he perceives it to be. Kim stands before Estio, his expression unreadable as the young man faces his scrutiny. Estio's eyes, wide with a mix of confusion and apprehension, reflect the weight of the moment. From a slight distance, Saralyn watches silently, a small figure in the grand hall. A single word, monster, echoes in Estio's mind, a stark realization of his perceived status. He stands there, a young man caught in a web of expectations. Kim's voice cuts through the silence, acknowledging Estio's unique ability to understand the hearts of others, calling it a fascinating skill. He continues, admitting he's encountered many ability users and heard countless tales, but none as special as Estio. Then, with a sudden, firm grip, Kim seizes Estio's arm, his words turning sharp as he implies that Estio's ability suggests something more, demanding to know if he truly comprehends the gravity of the situation. Estio's face contorts in distress, the weight of Kim's words and actions pressing down on him. Kim stands in a grand hall, his gaze fixed on something unseen as he declares there is a task only one person in this world could accomplish. He then walks alongside Saralyn, who appears visibly upset, reiterating his conviction that this unique job awaits someone. His hand gently clasps her small one, a silent acknowledgement of her distress. Meanwhile, the Galatia branch manager, with a friendly smile, informs Estio that he will soon send a request to the guild, leaving the young man looking surprised. Kim then joins them, his presence adding weight to the manager's words, as the manager confirms the guild request will be sent soon. With the matter settled, Kim and Saralyn turn to leave, the manager watching them depart, while Saralyn casts a worried glance back. Kim's expression remains unreadable, a mask of calm determination. Saralyn, however, cannot hide her deep distress, her small face etched with concern. As they continue their walk away, Saralyn's gaze lingers behind them, her unease palpable. A young woman in a red dress addresses Estio, surprised to learn his name, expressing regret for nearly dismissing him without knowing it. As they walk through a grand hall, she thanks him again for his assistance, to which he offers a non-committal reply. A soft sound of contemplation escapes her lips. Turning to face him, Saralyn questions if his remarkable ability truly has no limits. Estio calmly admits he cannot comprehend everything, but reassures her not to worry. Still looking at him with concern, Saralyn presses him, asking if he's certain, and if he's truly going to read everything. Suddenly, her father bursts into the room, grabbing Sarah arm and angrily demanding Estio leave their house immediately. Sarah cries out in surprise. With a furious expression, her father reiterates his command for Estio to get out. His voice sharp with accusation, Sarah's father demands to know what Estio is doing with their guest, but the young girl quickly interjects, defending Estio and Hiru. Ignoring her plea, he calls out to her, reminding her that the bastard is sworn to listen to her elder brother, but Sarah, her face contorted in anger, screams back that she hates him. The tension in the room is palpable, a heavy silence falling as the door creaks shut. Later, under the vibrant hues of a setting sun, the grand mansion stands in quiet majesty. Outside, Sarah's father stands gazing at the horizon, the white beast by his side, its massive form a silent, watchful presence. As the sky deepens to twilight, a single thought echoes in his mind: monster. The white beast's large, clawed hand rests gently, its presence a stark contrast to the serene evening. He remains, a solitary figure against the fading light, his back to the viewer, lost in contemplation. Estio looks up, a soft gulp escaping him. He then glances down at Hiru, who stares back with an intense gaze. The setting sun casts a warm glow over the distant mansion. Estio reaches out a hand, as if trying to catch something unseen in the air. His gaze remains fixed upwards, hand still extended. He continues to look forward, a thoughtful expression on his face. In his palm, a small, luminous orb now floats, glowing softly. Turning his back, he begins to walk away. Hiru watches him go, remarking that humans are truly strange. Estio looks down at his companion, wondering aloud about Niju. As he continues to ponder what Niju might be doing, Hiru, meanwhile, feels a sense of contentment, knowing Estio is happy when he reads his heart, and that he understands Hiru's thoughts without needing them spoken aloud. A gentle touch from Estio's hand, a soft pat, and Hiru muses that this very kindness is likely why others might dislike him. He continues to stand beside Estio. Hiru reflects on the peculiar nature of humans, and why they often seem so strange. Yet, despite their oddities, he concludes that Estio himself is not a frightening person at all. In fact, he finds him more considerate than most, and inherently kind-hearted. Later, the two sit together on a bench, observing the bustling crowd below. A montage of various figures flashes by, a silent echo of past encounters and lingering thoughts. As a hand reaches out, a quiet thought emerges. What truly frightens is not the thoughts others harbor, but the fear they project onto others, the way they perceive someone as a monster. A low growl escapes the white beast, its red eyes gleaming, a stark image of the very monster in question. Kneeling to offer comfort, Estio dismisses such concerns, stating he cares nothing for those judgments, finding solace in the present moment, especially compared to the time he was trapped in the attic. Later, Estio stands by a round window, gazing out, a quiet contentment settling over him as he reflects on their shared journey. Together, Estio and Hiru sit, observing the distant buildings, their bond strengthened by shared experiences and mutual understanding. He feels a profound sense of purpose, a vibrant energy that makes him feel the most alive. Kneeling down, he gently embraces the large white beast, a silent moment of connection. As he moves, his hand carefully cradles a small, glowing red gem, its light pulsing softly. His footsteps echo with a soft thud, carrying him forward. He continues his journey, his back to the viewer, entering a familiar structure. Descending a set of wooden stairs, the young man leads the way, with the white beast following closely behind him. A warm welcome awaits him as he arrives, greeted by a smiling man and a young girl. The man beams, declaring his confidence in the young hero's success, while the girl adds her congratulations on his return from the guild. Nobles typically lack dexterity, she muses, surprised by how quickly he completed his task. As he returns to the guild, the manager and a now pink-haired Sarah greet him warmly, offering their congratulations. He stands tall, his expression calm and composed. His gaze is steady, reflecting his readiness for whatever comes next. Even the white beast remains faithfully by his side, a silent companion in his journey. He then receives a new assignment, an Ignis Guild special support request, detailing a critical mission. The request is dated the 15th day of the year of the Red Poseidon, setting a clear timeline for his next task. The mission involves the Jefferson Company, once the city's largest gene manufacturer, which has mysteriously closed down, allowing other businesses to quickly take over its market share. His objective is to seek out Thompson, the head of the company, and uncover the true reason behind its sudden demise. Estio carefully reviewed the mission brief, noting the immediate reward, a single gold coin upon completion of the first request. A shimmering coin materialized in his mind's eye, followed by the promise of 3 more if the second objective was also met. The document detailed his tasks: uncover the reason for the Jefferson Company's closure, locate its head, Mr. Thompson, and if possible, discover the company's secrets. Meanwhile, back at the guild, Sarah affectionately stroked Niju, who sat patiently on the table, while the guild manager observed the tender moment. With his mission accepted, Estio prepared to depart, Niju trotting faithfully beside him on a leash, telling his companion, "Let's go." As they made their way out, Sarah's voice rang out, a surprised, Estio." Both the guild manager and Sarah waved them off, the manager offering a simple, stay safe, while Sarah Lynn, with a heartfelt oh my, added, I'm so glad you're back. I was so worried. Her genuine concern brought a faint blush to Estio's cheeks as he continued on his way. As he prepares to leave, Estio looks down at Niju, who lets out a soft sound, and he reassures her that he will be back soon. Estio, now clad in a crisp black and gold uniform, walks purposefully through the city streets. His new attire a stark contrast to his previous farmer's clothes. As he glances around, a small black cat follows closely at his heels, and he calls out, wondering aloud, Estio, which way? He hums in thought, then confidently declares, we just follow the guild here, to the guild hall, most tip. A map appears, showing their winding path through the city, as he asks, Q, is it far? The black cat looks up at him, its golden eyes reflecting the uncertainty of their journey. And Estio looks down, perhaps realizing his own lack of direction. Estio. Suddenly, the white beast, Niju, appears behind him, her voice a gentle rumble as she offers, should Niju carry you? As Estio considered the offer, Niju insisted she could run much faster than him, worried he would tire if he walked for too long. He quickly shook his head, assuring her he was fine, while the white beast let out a small, questioning sound. A wave of dejection washed over Niju, who slumped down, lamenting that she had thought she could finally go out a little, but was apparently not good enough. Seeing her crestfallen expression, Estio's resolve wavered, a surprised get on, escaping his lips. At his hesitant question, Niju's head snapped up, a hopeful cue, bursting forth. With renewed determination, she rose to her full height, ready to fulfill her promise, while Estio looked on in mild shock. Without another word, the white beast scooped him onto her back and bolted through the city streets, a blur of motion. The world around them became a streaking canvas, as she maintained an incredible pace. Buildings and landmarks dissolved into indistinct lines, their journey continuing at a breathtaking velocity. Having arrived at their destination, Niju beams with pride, proclaiming her speed. Estio, catching his breath, acknowledges her impressive run, while she continues to bounce with energy. His eyes reflect a mix of exhaustion and perhaps a touch of awe. They stand before a grand, timber-framed building, its imposing structure suggesting a place of importance. However, their path is immediately blocked by a stern-faced guard, spear held firmly across the entrance. Estio notes the guard's spear, a common, unadorned weapon, as Niju questions the reason for their obstruction. His hand clenches, a silent testament to his growing impatience. The guard, unmoving, simply states that no one is present to receive them. Niju, however, seems to know better, indicating that the company's owner resides within the building. He recalls a time when, even though sugar was expensive, someone always gave him some. He remembers receiving a bag of medicine when he was sick, or a piece of bread when he was starving from a bad harvest. There was no way to know the frequency or reason for these acts of kindness, he muses, as Niju gently pets his head. Is Estio going to keep waiting for Estio to come back? She asks, her voice soft. He simply replies, I'm fine, while Niju continues to stroke his hair. As the day draws to a close, the sky paints itself in hues of orange and yellow. A grand building stands illuminated under the night sky. Inside, Estio remains lost in thought, a quiet hum escaping him. As Estio stands with Niju, a soft sound escapes him, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared moment. Suddenly, a hand shoots out, gripping with a violent force. Estio is violently yanked forward, his face contorted in shock and pain as he cries out in disbelief. A stern-faced man confronts him, declaring he thought they would have discouraged the boy and sent him back. Recovering from the sudden assault, Estio recognizes his attacker, asking if he is Thompson, the head of the Thompson Company. Thompson dismisses the question with a sneer, telling the boy he can tell he's just a pathetic noble's errand boy and should leave. As Thompson turns to walk away, Estio remains, looking down in silent despair. Thompson scoffs, remarking that this is the first time he's been treated with such disrespect, while Estio's eyes glow with a faint blue light, a mix of hurt and burgeoning resolve. His hand clenches tightly into a fist on the ground, a silent testament to his simmering emotions. Still reeling from the previous encounter, Thompson attempts to regain control, questioning Estio's presence and intentions. He knows this place, a home now known as a Hunter's Guild branch, yet the river that once flowed nearby is now gone, a stark reminder of how much things have changed. Estio, however, remains unfazed, his voice laced with a quiet challenge as he asks if it's not natural to be around someone's house. Before Thompson can respond, a glint of steel flashes, his hand moving to draw a knife from his belt. But Estio is faster, his sudden movement catching Thompson completely off guard. With a swift, decisive motion, Estio disarms him, the knife clattering away as Thompson recoils. Estio then grabs him by the collar, holding him firmly as he demands to know what's wrong. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a woman stands lost in thought, perhaps recalling a past proposal, a memory of someone asking, will you marry me? And a concerned voice inquiring, dear, what's wrong? Are you hurt somewhere? She gazes out a large window, contemplating the words, why are you like this? Life is so cold. Have you been hurt? A woman's face, etched with sorrow, appears in the darkness, revealing the tragic truth that Thompson had a daughter named Teal. Despite his initial refusal to marry, He eventually accepted the proposal, though only 3 months passed after their marriage before their lives took a turn. Their first child tragically died before its first birthday, and a devastating cycle of miscarriages followed, claiming 2 more children. The cries of a baby echo, a poignant reminder of the lives lost. Teal, her eyes glowing with a sorrowful light, declared, "I will also die like this." Overwhelmed by clouds of depression and despair, she lacked the strength to return, and soon, cracks began to appear in her marriage as she questioned Thompson, "How much do you have left to lose?" Her glowing eyes fixed on him, Teal's voice trembled with accusation. "Are you going to leave Leia to die too?" A heavy silence followed, her despair palpable. The scene shifts to a document, bearing the name Jefferson Corp Business Stage. After Thompson closed his company, he locked himself in his all-too-small room for his young daughter. Thompson, his voice sharp, demands to know where the struggling white beast thinks she is going, calling her a stupid creature. A voice from off-screen asks if his wife is expecting another child, causing Thompson to exclaim in shock. He stares, utterly bewildered, questioning what was just said. Meanwhile, SDO observes the chained white beast, reflecting that those without the ability to fight are nothing more than meat to others. His eyes glowing with a bright blue light, he realizes why the Thompson company closed its doors so quickly. A surge of blue energy erupts from his hand, striking with a powerful impact. Thompson lies defeated on the ground as SDO, now holding White Beast by the neck, lifts her effortlessly. With another swift motion, blue energy crackles around his hand, ready for whatever comes next. A lone figure stands in the dim light, their face obscured by a dark mask as they demand, "What are you? And how do you know about Teal?" A figure with white hair and horns gently supports SDO, who appears weak and disoriented. Barely able to speak, he identifies himself as SDO, a guild member of Ignis. Meanwhile, a different voice laments the meddling of nobles, suggesting their interference goes too far. Thompson, a man with dark hair, continues his tirade, annoyed that they've even involved the guild in his personal affairs. He dismisses SDO as weak, judging him to be one of the worst guild members simply by his appearance. The white-haired figure continues to support SDO, who remains in a state of exhaustion. Thompson scoffs internally, his thoughts drifting to the nobles. Hell, they're all bunched up just for those jewels. Meanwhile, he casually strokes Suki, who purrs contentedly against his hand. His hand moves with practiced ease, before he declares with an air of authority, "You're right. I am the head of the Thompson Company." He then reaches down, his imposing shadow falling over SDO, who remains on the ground. A dismissive gaze fixes upon the young man. As he finally addresses him directly, "Ahem. So, guild boy, what request made you come here?" He extends his hand, offering something to the fallen SDO. "Here." His plea still hangs in the air, a desperate question about reopening his business. Thompson, looking down at the young man, dismisses the widespread rumors with a casual air, finding them inconvenient indeed. He then muses aloud, wondering if someone hadn't been around for a while. SDO's face remains etched with a mix of apprehension and resignation. Still on the ground, his back to the viewer, he remains in a submissive posture. As SDO kneels before him, Thompson, gently stroking Suki, offers a token of apology that cannot be refused. The scene shifts to a more private setting, a dimly lit room with a table laden with bottles and flickering candlelight, suggesting a more intimate discussion. Now seated across from SDO, Thompson continues his persuasive offer, suggesting that young ones like him usually prefer sweet drinks like fruit juice. With a subtle smirk, he pets Suki once more, uttering a patronizing, "Well, good boy." Thompson continues his lecture, asserting that SDO is terribly lacking in worldly wisdom. He explains that in such situations, one should match the other's mood and take the initiative, whether it's a request or something else, then questions if SDO has no requests or any kind of relationship with him. Looking down, SDO quietly confirms that is correct. As Thompson's hand hovers near his head, the young man offers a soft, "I'm sorry." Thompson, however, dismisses his apology, remarking that while he may be well-behaved for a farmer's son, it doesn't matter to a lord, ending with a dismissive "Teske." Turning to leave, he states that whatever the case, he has no plans to open up their relationship for a while. SDO's face contorts in distress as he utters, "Is that so?" As Thompson reaches the doorway, he pauses, looking back to challenge SDO. "Aren't you going to ask why?" Thompson, still asserting his authority, questions SDO's lack of business acumen, observing his disinterest. Then, with a casual gesture, he offers a drink. His gaze sharpens on the young man, singling him out. SDO, ever compliant, serves the beverage. A booming laugh erupts from Thompson, filling the room with his mirth. He then remarks to SDO, who stands with Suki perched on his shoulder, that he finds him quite amusing. Thompson's expression softens as he speaks of his deep affection for his wife, Teal, and their daughter, declaring he would give anything to ensure their happiness. As he takes the glass from SDO's tray, a quiet clink echoes. His demeanor turns somber as he reveals his wife's declining health since the previous year, and the profound sorrow of their daughter's death, which has stolen his wife's smile completely. He reaches out, his voice pleading, "Dear, don't do this. Let's go outside for once." But she recoils, a silent scream etched on her face as he cries out, "Dear." There was a time he tried to forcefully drag her out of the house, but she didn't budge, fortunately. Now, he sits alone at the table, the bottle of liquor a silent companion. As he laments, Teal would rather die. His hand trembles as he reaches for a glass. A pained gasp escaping him. Huh. He breaks down, sobbing uncontrollably. Huh. Ugh. Hook. Watching the man's raw grief, Estio's eyes widen in disbelief. No way. He clenches his fist, a sudden thought striking him. Did my ability activate without me knowing? He takes another drink, muttering to himself. I only came down for a drink, hoping I'd be able to sleep, but I just got more thirsty. The empty bottles on the table bear silent witness to his despair. When Estio approaches, offering a hesitant apology. Anyway, I've heard about your situation. I'm sorry for your request, but at least for this year, I haven't given up. I've been trying to redesign my business model, and I've been trying to go look for new products. The young man's earnestness is palpable. And he continues, laying out his proposal. If Thompson turns away, seemingly uninterested in the boy's words. But Estio stands firm. Finishing his thought, if your wife's condition improves, would you open your business? Thompson looks back, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. Your business? Standing over the seated Thompson, Estio continues his surprising declaration, stating that he can do a job that only he, in this entire world, is capable of. Thompson's hand clenches tightly, his knuckles white, as the weight of Estio's words settles upon him. Estio then reveals the impossible task, to make Thompson's wife finally emerge from her room. A wave of disbelief washes over Estio as he processes the impossible claim, his mind reeling at the thought of someone enraging a creator and the implications for their sacred space. He turns, his expression a mix of confusion and challenge, demanding to know how such a feat could even be accomplished. His mouth hangs slightly agape, a silent gasp escaping him as the full weight of the revelation settles. Standing before him, a woman with long, flowing white hair and a pristine white dress appears, her elegant form extending downward, her presence commanding attention. She gazes down at Estio, who stands before her, a silent question hanging between them. He declares, a soft purple glow emanating from his head, that this is the ability he possesses. The light intensifies around his neck. As a man with dark hair stares in utter disbelief, a single, stunned question escaping his lips. Estio places a reassuring hand on the man's shoulder, urging him not to be afraid. A surge of blue energy crackles from his outstretched hand, accompanied by a sharp, resonant sound. Both men maintain their intense gazes, their expressions a mix of revelation and apprehension. Turning his attention, Estio looks down at the white-haired woman, who kneels before him, pleading that she is not a bad person. Her eyes, however, glow with an ominous red light, betraying a hidden intensity. Estio's face registers a fresh wave of shock, a soft gasp escaping him. He stands amidst the desolate ruins, the silence broken only by the faint echo of his own footsteps. Later, sitting with Char unnamed man, the memory of crimson spreading across the ground flashes through his mind, and a deep concern etches itself onto his features. As if in response to his thoughts, a luminous, ethereal hand extends towards him, its soft glow illuminating the surprise on his face, while Char unnamed man watches from the background. In a separate moment, now clad in more formal attire, he looks down at Char unnamed woman who kneels before him, asking if she should leave the matter to him. Without hesitation, his hand reaches out, firmly clasping the mysterious glowing appendage. Footsteps echo through the quiet halls, drawing closer to a closed door, the sound of their approach growing louder. A pair of dark boots finally stops before it. While inside, Estio sits calmly, his companion Suki nestled comfortably on his lap. The man outside raises a hand, knocking twice with a firm rap. He announces, "We have a guest." The door slides open, revealing Estio standing on the other side. A hand grips a doorknob, twisting it with a soft click. The door creaks open, and a man peers cautiously into the room beyond. Inside, a hand reaches out, while a woman's ragged breathing fills the silence. Teal sits slumped in a rocking chair, her face pale, her eyes burning with an eerie red glow. Her gaze is distant, lost in thought, as she remains unresponsive. The man steps into the doorway, his own expression unreadable. The door creaks softly as it settles slightly ajar. He turns from her, moving to a nearby window, and asks, "Aren't you cold?" His brow furrows, a silent worry clouding his features. He reaches out, his hand extending towards her. His fingers gently clasp hers, a moment of tentative connection. But the touch only confirms his fear, as he murmurs, "Your hands are ice cold." He looks at her with deep concern, her gaze averted, lost in her own turmoil. His brow furrows, a silent plea for her to respond, his expression etched with worry. But instead, her hand pulls away, a gesture of withdrawal. She clutches her head, overwhelmed by an unseen burden, her distress palpable. Tears well in her eyes, still glowing with an unnatural red light, reflecting her inner pain. Finally, her eyelids fall, unable to contain the sorrow, as the tears trace paths down her cheeks. She remains excessively silent, her distress a palpable weight in the room. The unnamed man watches her, along with the other woman in the rocking chair, both consumed by their inner turmoil. He considers the situation, wondering if he needs to push his abilities further, and if so, how much more strength he can truly exert. Holding Suki close, he reflects on a time when he never had to temper his power. His gaze returns to the two women, their suffering a silent plea. This time, he resolves, he will unleash his full might willingly. A dark, swirling energy begins to coalesce around his hand, particles of power flaring into existence. The vortex intensifies, growing in density and ominous presence. His expression hardens, a resolute determination settling upon his features as the power surges. He unleashes the dark, swirling energy from his hand, the raw power causing the air around Teal and the woman to ripple with distress. The ominous force expands, consuming the space. A guttural rumble echoes as the dark energy churns violently. The unnamed man clutches his chest, a pained gasp escaping him as the immense power takes its toll. His eyes widen in agony, the strain of controlling such a force evident on his face. Elsewhere, Estio stares in shock, his hands rising to his chest, wondering what this terrifying phenomenon could be. The air shimmers, then dark, swirling particles begin to coalesce, forming an ominous cloud that drifts through the forest canopy. What is this? Estio murmurs. As he and his companion stand amidst the trees, the black cat Suki nestled close by. A low, resonant hum fills the air, echoing through the leaves. Suki? His companion asks, looking at the cat. Before their gaze falls upon a wooden barrel, overflowing with a shimmering, golden grain, inexplicably appearing in the clearing. The forest hums with the sound of cicadas, an axe left embedded in a tree stump. A faint creaking accompanies the movement of a hand. As Estio and his companion walk along a path through a village, a foot steps down, and Estio sighs, lamenting the need for fieldwork on such a day. He had wanted to rest. Elsewhere, a woman stands, her eyes wide with surprise. A man gasps, recognizing her, calling out, Teal? She looks down, pondering how she appears now, and how this could have happened. He denies any ill intent, but Thompson insists that these are undoubtedly Teal's memories. Estio laments, wishing she could have lived a long, happy life with him, reaching 80 years old. In a distant memory, a lone figure walks away into a dense forest. A thought echoing in her mind. She was Teal, the one the villagers scornfully called God's failed child. Despite her dire circumstances, she vowed, I'm not going to die like this. She had nothing, yet she never gave up, surviving by sheer will. With no one to support her, she knew, the only thing I can rely on is myself. Her hands, calloused and determined, worked tirelessly in the fields, as she supported herself by herself. Each swing of her tool a testament to her resilience. She remembers the small comforts, like a bag of medicine when she was sick, or a piece of bread when she was starving from a bad harvest. And then there was her cat, a constant, if unpredictable, companion. There was no way to know the frequency or reason for its affection. The cat just did what it wanted. One day, a voice called out to her from the fields, announcing, Teal, Teal, I brought sticks to use as firewood. Teal, I brought edible grass as well. Two young boys approached, one carrying firewood, the other a basket of greens, playfully asking, How about you some cute boys? One of them extended a small flower, inviting her. Teal, here, present, come a bit closer, like this. He then gently pulled her forward. There. And in that moment, a new feeling blossomed within her, and then, she fell in love. Years later, the memory shifts to one of the boys, now older, working in a field, as a voice calls out his name, Juan. He smiles, a familiar warmth in his expression. A voice calls out to Teal, pulling her back to a time when life was simpler, when she could still smile brightly in the sun-drenched fields. She stands with Juan, a young man who shared her world, their connection a quiet comfort amidst the daily struggles. But the harsh reality of their lives, the crushing weight of poverty, relentlessly extinguished every flicker of hope, engulfing them in its abyss. Just like the dust that settled on the ground, poverty had become an inescapable part of her very being, a constant companion in her thoughts. Later, in the quiet of a small room, she hears the question that changes everything. One has proposed. She wonders how he knew, recalling the man who had promised so much to her sister. Dinners, new dresses, 3 times over, a stark contrast to their own meager existence. But despite the proposal, a heavy truth weighs on her heart. They had already agreed to part ways. She confesses her lack of courage to marry him, knowing she must leave to spare them both a life of endless struggle. The decision, though painful, shatters their shared future, leaving behind only broken pieces of what could have been. And so, Teal and her companion went their separate ways. She walked through the quiet streets of a small town, her mind already on the tasks ahead, knowing she still had 5 deliveries to make. The young woman calculated her time, believing she could finish before sunset if she skipped lunch. It was a familiar sacrifice, one she made often to ensure this month's earnings would be enough. Suddenly, a man collapsed directly in her path. Her eyes widened in shock, her hands clenching instinctively. She rushed forward, calling out to him, as scattered boxes lay around the fallen figure. Other villagers began to gather, their murmurs of concern rising as Teal knelt beside the man. He remembers the first time he met Teal, the woman who saved him. After that fateful encounter, their paths intertwined. He recalls being gravely injured, and her gentle voice asking if he was awake, her concern evident in her expression. A memory of a pivotal moment surfaces when he knelt before her and asked, "Teal, will you marry me?" The image of his proposal, filled with hope, and the ring, a symbol of their future, flashes before his eyes. But then, the memory shifts to a terrifying fall as he plummets through the air, desperately calling out her name. The vivid recollection fades into a hazy green, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. A man with dark, spiky hair confronts Teal in a sun-dappled forest clearing, his voice laced with accusation as he mentions her impending marriage. Overwhelmed by despair, he clutches his chest, threatening to end his own life if she truly intends to abandon him. A small, dark bottle, marked with a skull, is clutched tightly in a hand. In a quiet field, Teal stands with her back to the world, her long hair flowing down her dark dress. Estio reaches out to her, his voice filled with desperation, confessing that he doesn't want to be without her. Clutching the mysterious bottle, he implores her to return to him. But Teal's expression hardens, her resolve unwavering as she tells him to do whatever he wants. As she walks away, her words cut deep, declaring that their connection is severed, regardless of his fate. Estio cries out in disbelief at her harshness, but she simply states that if he's done talking, she's leaving. With a final, heartfelt plea, Teal wishes Juan well, hoping he finds happiness with someone else. But as she turns to leave, a pained expression crosses his face, his grip tightening on the ominous skull-marked bottle. Teal, resolute in her decision, continues to walk away, her gaze fixed forward. Suddenly, a desperate cry escapes her lips as she spins around, a pink aura flaring around her in shock. Juan has collapsed to the ground, and she rushes towards him, her heart pounding with terror. Kneeling beside his still form, Teal desperately pleads with him to wake up, her voice filled with anguish. From a distance, Thompson and another man observe the unfolding tragedy, while the truth of Thompson's own feelings for Teal remains unspoken. Thompson remarks that Teal likely wanted to keep her husband unaware of the situation, muttering her name with a hint of concern. In a dark, symbolic space, Teal sits alone, consumed by the feeling that she is cursed because of Juan. A sharp, internal thump echoes in his mind as Thompson's hand clenches into a tight fist. He continues, his voice low, recalling how she married him, ultimately, for money. The man beside him considers this, acknowledging that such a possibility could indeed be true. Thompson's thoughts drift, wondering if her choice, driven by wealth, would change her. A flicker of doubt crosses his face, his expression etched with a complex mix of longing and apprehension. He considers the implications, imagining a life where his wife's decisions were swayed by money and the harsh grip of poverty. The image of falling gold coins fills his mind, a stark reminder of what she might have coveted. A woman with glowing red eyes asks him pointedly if his wife would then be excluded from the three most precious people he once spoke of. Thompson's gaze hardens with resolve, declaring that Teal would not be excluded, for she remains the most precious to him. Estio stands in a formal uniform, his gaze fixed on something beyond the frame. He and Suki watch from a distance as one goes about his day, a familiar scene that makes Estio realize nothing has truly changed. Meanwhile, Thompson sits by a window, lost in thought, the memory of her still clinging to his mind. The image of Teal, her expression distant, fills his mind. As a younger version of himself, overcome with anguish, reaches out desperately in his recollection. Tears stream down his face as he cries out to Teal, heartbroken that she would feel nothing, even if their own daughter were to die. In a dimly lit room, a baby lies in a crib, while a musician plays softly in the background, and a younger Thompson and Teal stand nearby. He holds the infant, his voice breaking as he pleads for something unspoken. The memory distorts, echoing a desperate plea for her to simply hold their daughter, just once. He insists that she isn't devoid of feeling. Even as he kneels before her, asking if she's truly listening, to which she confirms. He can only question how such a thing could be true, the weight of the accusation crushing him. Then, a voice calls out to Teal, reassuring her that it isn't her fault. A comforting hand reaches out, offering the desperate hope that their daughter, Leia, isn't truly gone, but alive and waiting in the future. The plea resonates, urging him to cease his self-blame and return to them, as the memory begins to crack and fade around him. He continues to reflect on the mysterious cat, acknowledging that there's no way to truly understand the frequency or reason behind its actions. As Teal looks on, her expression tinged with a quiet sadness. But Thompson, turning to her with a gentle smile, offers a simple, heartfelt truth: they are family. Suddenly, the tender moment shatters, literally, as glass explodes inward, sending countless shards flying through the air. Thompson recoils in shock, his mind reeling from the sudden, inexplicable violence, wondering why this is happening. Teal, too, is visibly startled, her eyes wide with alarm. As the chaos subsides, Thompson turns to her, a dawning realization crossing his face as he begins to speak her name, noticing her cheeks flush with a deep, unexpected blush. His expression shifts to one of profound surprise, while Teal averts her gaze, unable to meet his eyes. His gaze falls upon her, a single name escaping his lips. A soft, rhythmic sound echoes through the quiet room, followed by a gentle cooing. Above a crib, a delicate mobile spins slowly, its tiny figures dancing in the soft light. Overwhelmed, Teal collapses into his arms, tears streaming down her face as she whispers of her own perceived failure. Her hand trembles, clutching at her chest, a soft whimper escaping her lips. He offers her a bottle, a gentle smile on his face, explaining that the baby's cries are simply a sign of hunger. As he carefully feeds the infant, he asks if she, too, is hungry, mentioning the chicken soup they have, to which she quietly thanks him. With the baby now calm, he pulls her into a comforting embrace, both sharing a moment of quiet gratitude. He often wondered about the cat's true nature, recalling how it had appeared with medicine when he was sick, or bread when he was starving from a bad harvest. There was no way to know the frequency or reason, as the cat simply did what it wanted. Suddenly, a hand shot upwards, only to be met with an unseen force, recoiling sharply from the impact. A dark, shadowy energy enveloped Estio as he plummeted downwards, a voice crying out his name in alarm. As night falls over the quiet town, a low, resonant thud echoes through the air, a sound that seems to emanate from the very heart of the old buildings. Inside, Estio, roused from his sleep, calls out, "Okay, I'm coming. What's this, in the middle of the night?" Outside, a sudden, vibrant blue light flashes, accompanied by a sharp, cracking sound, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Estio emerges with Suki by his side, joining a small crowd of villagers who stare up at the sky, their faces etched with concern. As he gazes at the unfolding event, a fierce determination hardens his features, and his eyes begin to glow with an intense, crimson light. Clutching a lantern, Estio prepares to move, his gaze fixed downwards, ready to confront whatever lies ahead. His eyes, once glowing with an ominous red, now reflect a clear, bright blue, yet a deep exhaustion seems to linger within them. A fleeting image of him standing tall, clad in a dark, ornate uniform, flashes through the mind, a stark contrast to his current state. As he lies unconscious in bed, an elder healer observing him with a concerned gaze. "Yes, he is," the elder confirms gravely. Nearby, Juan and Teal stand, their faces etched with worry as Juan explains, "He became like that after he used his ability." The elder healer sighs, his expression grim. It's probably a problem with his mana. And if so, that's outside of my jurisdiction." A faint blush colors his cheek as a pained expression crosses his face, even in his unconscious state. As Juan presses the elder for answers, "Outside of your jurisdiction? Then where should we go?" The elder healer shakes his head slowly. There aren't medical facilities that can treat ability users in Galatia. He turns to Juan and Teal, his voice firm with resolve. "This seems to have happened because he overused his ability. We should find him care. Resting won't be good enough. So let's go to the city." Juan and Teal stand in a room, discussing the implications of Estio's condition, considering the need to request help from an affiliated guild. Suddenly, a sound or realization makes both of them turn, their expressions shifting to surprise. Unseen by them, a small, white-furred creature with dark fur on its face and hands sits quietly, observing. Juan stares, a silent question hanging in the air, while Teal looks on with growing concern. As a hand gently strokes the creature's head, a voice speaks, causing confusion and a hesitant query about who uttered the words. The creature's dark, clawed hand rests calmly, betraying no hint of its recent action. Their attention is drawn to Estio, who remains slumped on the floor, clearly still in pain. Juan's eyes widen in disbelief, his voice barely a whisper as he questions if he truly heard someone speak. His shock persists, while the creature beside Estio lets out a soft, knowing sigh. Still processing the creature's sudden ability to speak, Juan expresses his deep concern for Leia, who remains at home, and his wife, vowing to cover all costs and seek help if needed. The creature, its red eyes glowing faintly, responds to his unspoken question. Juan looks on, a flicker of surprise and contemplation crossing his face, as he considers the creature's words, Teal standing silently behind him. With renewed determination, Juan affirms his commitment, stating that his wife's well-being is his utmost priority. As the creature turns and begins to walk away, it reassures Juan, telling him there's no need to worry about their friend. A simple nod from the creature seals the unspoken agreement. Moments later, the soft sound of footsteps echoes as Juan and Teal walk down a sterile hallway, their expressions grim. The path leads them past an empty wheelchair, waiting silently. Nearby, a medical tray, gleaming with instruments, stands ready for use. He lies in bed, a book open before him, his thoughts drifting to the past, remembering a bag of medicine when he was sick, or a piece of bread when he was starving from a bad harvest. An unseen presence reflects on these moments, noting that for humans, it was helping them, and the request was also a success. In a memory, a younger Estio stands before his family, Juan, holding baby Leia, and Teal by his side, a scene of humble warmth. Back in the present, he sits on the edge of a grand bed, gazing out a window, lost in thought. A single word escaping his lips as he looks down, "So." His eyes close, a soft sound, "Hugh," escaping him, followed by an insistent thought urging him to, "Wake up, and let's go home." The sky outside shifts from a deep twilight to a soft, ethereal glow, revealing a sprawling city below. the light filtering through a grand window into a lavish room. As Estio's eyes snap open, wide with a sudden, sharp distress. He stirs in a luxurious bed, humming softly as he slowly wakes. He sits up, stretching, the sound of his movement echoing in the opulent room. His gaze is distant, perhaps reflecting on his new surroundings. The large, white creature watches him intently from the side of the bed. He reaches out, gently stroking the creature's head, a silent moment of connection. Standing now, he looks down at the creature, while Thompson kneels nearby, questioning his refusal to share information, asking if his decision is final. Estio's expression hardens as he declares he has been lying there for 2 days already, and it's enough. With the creature by his side, he walks away from the grand building, leaving footprints in the soft ground, disappearing into the mist. The imposing, ornate structure stands silently behind them, its grandeur now left behind. The scene opens on a bustling street, a grand building with red doors and a prominent sign standing out amongst the urban landscape. Inside, a desk is strewn with papers and a few gold coins, hinting at recent transactions or perhaps a financial predicament. Thompson, his face etched with worry, throws his hands up in exasperation, the weight of some unseen burden clearly pressing down on him. He sits across from Estio, who stands calmly before the desk, Thompson's voice rising in disbelief. Is that so? Estio simply confirms, it is. As Thompson leans forward, his expression intense. So you mean, you don't know anything about the cat either? Estio's gaze drops, a single word escaping his lips. Rumors? A grand, opulent mansion stands before him, its pristine white facade a stark contrast to the humble village he left behind. Stepping through the ornate entrance, he considers the purpose of his visit, a meeting with Viscount Farine. Inside, a uniformed guard gestures forward, inviting him to proceed deeper into the estate. He ascends a grand staircase, the guard following close behind, each step echoing in the vast hall. From above, the intricate patterns of the floor unfold beneath him, as he continues his ascent towards an unknown encounter. Bounding through the opulent halls of the mansion, a small white creature with a red collar races forward, its tiny paws thudding softly against the polished floor, eagerly approaching a figure. With a joyful yelp, the creature greets him, exclaiming, Estio, long time no see. Kneeling down in his formal attire, Estio returns the greeting with a warm smile, calling out, Hiru. As Hiru leaps into his arms, a playful voice from nearby challenges, Do you like me more than me? The source of the question is a young girl with blonde pigtails tied with large red bows, dressed in an elaborate pink gown, who watches the reunion with a mischievous glint in her purple eyes. Hiru responds to her with an emphatic bark, Woof. Estio, now standing, looks at the girl with a resigned expression, muttering, Ugh, really, I can't win against her. The girl, unfazed by his complaint, fixes her gaze on him, inquiring, So what are you here for? A small, sealed letter is presented, its contents a summons from a father. The young girl from before greets Estio, expressing her pleasure at seeing him again, before asking how he is doing. He looks at her, a question in his eyes. She then playfully challenges him, wondering if he's surprised by her exceptional ability, her gaze fixed on him. She leans in, her expression mischievous, asking if he isn't afraid of her capacity to read another's heart. Estio, however, remains unfazed, dismissing her claim with a confident shake of his head. With Hiru now by his side, he continues to face the girl, who maintains her playful, yet probing demeanor. She presses on, warning him that she could uncover all his hidden secrets and blurt them out for everyone to hear. A smug smile plays on her lips as she concludes that such a revelation would be quite embarrassing for him. He considers the girl's unusual ability, wondering if she could truly manipulate his innermost feelings. Meanwhile, the young girl, her eyes wide with an almost unsettling delight, exclaims in wonder at something she perceives within him. Both of them look down at the small white dog, who sits patiently between them. The girl then turns her gaze back to Estio, her expression serious as she asks if he feels no fear. He remains silent for a moment, before calmly questioning why he should be afraid. His composure is broken only by a slight gasp of surprise, as the young lady's next words catch him off guard. An older gentleman, a butler, interrupts their conversation, apologizing for the intrusion but explaining that his master is waiting for the young lady. The young lady lets out a frustrated sigh, while the butler looks on with a concerned expression. As she walks away, the young lady glances back, asserting that she understands the summons but won't simply break off their interaction. She looks intently, her voice clear as she demands, Promise me. Her small form poised, she awaits a reply. Meanwhile, within a grand, opulent residence, a richly decorated room stands in quiet anticipation. A blonde-haired butler stands by a heavy desk. As Estio approaches the entrance, his footsteps soft upon the polished floor. The door swings open, revealing Estio, now clad in a formal uniform, as he steps inside. He addresses the room, announcing, Hello, I have come concerning the request. Tell me, do you know about the cactus? His gaze settles on a small, vibrant green cactus, sitting innocently on a polished table. Leaning closer, his expression thoughtful, he continues to ponder the plant. His hand hovers near the cactus as he muses. How can a green plant grow in a desert where even one sip of water is difficult to find? Isn't it fascinating? Unlike other plants, a cactus never needed medicine when sick, nor bread when starving from a bad harvest. There was no way to know the frequency or reason for its resilience, as it simply did what it wanted, its size and shape varying greatly depending on its environment. Yet, an owner who didn't understand its true worth could easily bring about its demise. Nearby, a blonde-haired butler stood with his back to the room, his gaze fixed on a grand clock. Estio, still contemplating the peculiar plant, remained silent, his thoughts swirling. The butler then turned slightly, acknowledging Estio's earlier observation with a simple, that's right. His curiosity piqued. He then inquired, by chance, can you read the inside of plants as well? As the butler knelt beside a potted plant, Estio stood nearby, Hiru patiently resting at his feet, a silent witness to the unusual conversation. Estio's eyes narrowed slightly, a thoughtful expression settling on his face as he processed the question. Estio holds the small potted cactus. Its green form a stark contrast to his dark attire. He observes the plant closely, when suddenly, a voice echoes from it, complaining, "Wah-wah, so noisy." Both Estio and the butler pause, startled by the unexpected sound, their expressions a mix of confusion and surprise. As they continue their walk through the halls, the butler muses aloud, pondering the nature of plants. He holds the small cactus carefully, considering its unique existence. The cactus, however, seems to have had enough of his contemplation, snapping, "You talk way too much." The butler, unfazed by the plant's outburst, continues to speak, explaining that while a cactus may not have a choice in its existence, it is still a living thing that someone chose to raise. Their conversation continues as they walk, the small, sentient plant held between them. He extends a small potted plant towards Estio, proposing, "Become my subordinate." The offer, sealed with a crimson wax emblem, isn't a simple employment, prompting a surprised Estio to question, "Are you saying I'll be a soldier under your command?" The butler dismisses the notion, clarifying, "A soldier is hardly the case. I have no intention of using you like a mere soldier." A subtle smirk plays on his lips, as he finally reveals, "I will appoint you as an advisor." A voice promises a privilege that no commoner could ever enjoy, adding that only a father could bestow such a name, leaving Estio to wonder what he would have to do in return. His expression remains calm, yet a subtle tension plays across his features as he processes the implications of the offer. Meanwhile, the butler watches him with a knowing, almost smug smile, his eyes glinting with an unspoken agenda. Estio's hand rests over his heart, a gesture of quiet contemplation, as he concludes that the answer is very simple. The butler then presents a small, glowing green object, revealing the condition, to beat the head of the Thompson Company. The glowing green object seems to pulse with an unsettling energy, and Estio immediately recognizes it for what it is, a definite trap, the words of a manipulator. Estio considers the butler's proposition, acknowledging its potential benefits, but his current guild already provides him with everything he needs. The butler, however, senses a deeper reluctance, suggesting there must be some misunderstanding on his part. He steps closer, his presence becoming more imposing, prompting Estio to inquire about the consequences should he choose not to comply with the implied order. The butler's smile tightens as he assures him that nothing immediate would happen, but that trouble would inevitably catch up to him later. He muses internally that the young man's foresight is so keen, one might even mistake him for a prophet. Estio, still attempting to maintain a polite distance, apologizes and requests time to discuss the matter with his guild before making a decision. The butler's expression darkens slightly as he realizes that the young man will not come willingly. He concludes that it would be troublesome if someone else were to interfere, deciding it's better to handle the situation more directly and properly. Having been refused by Estio, the butler now approaches him with a new proposition, offering him some time to consider his options and make a good decision. His gaze then falls upon a potted cactus, which he casually instructs someone to remove, declaring his intention to replace it with a more beautiful flower. As the butler holds the prickly plant, Estio, clearly distressed, cries out, demanding to know why he's being taken and begging to be released. The butler, ignoring his pleas, simply gestures forward, directing him to follow. With a heavy thud, the cactus is placed on the ground, its presence now a tangible burden. From behind, the butler's voice rings out, expressing disbelief that the cactus is being thrown out before it's even been given to anyone. Estio's expression hardens, a clear sign of his growing frustration, as the word cactus escapes his lips, laden with annoyance. The butler, now walking away, delivers his final instruction, telling Estio to take the cactus with him if he intends to dispose of it. A subtle smirk plays on the butler's lips as he muses that this particular cactus is a special one, meant as a gift for someone like Estio. The butler's presence lingered, his words a thinly veiled command as he presented the potted cactus. He inquired with a saccharine smile, asking if the young master wasn't feeling cold, a question that felt more like a statement. The small, spiky plant sat innocently in its pot, a symbol of the unspoken pressure. As Estio held the plant, the butler continued, explaining that Lady Saralyn wished for him to remain there for a while longer. A shiver ran through Estio, his thoughts consumed by the biting cold, wondering if freezing to death might be a less painful alternative to his current predicament. As he holds the potted cactus, the butler's voice echoes, reminding him that if he finds anything uncomfortable, he should simply speak up. Suddenly, the cactus begins to glow with a vibrant, rainbow aura, causing Estio to exclaim in disbelief, wondering if he's witnessing a divine presence. The cactus responds, introducing itself as Estio, while his dog, Ahu, barks a long, complicated name, which Estio quickly shortens to Ahuru for simplicity. A small, white creature with red eyes watches, amazed, exclaiming how cool it is that Estio can talk to plants. Estio's expression shifts to one of intrigued surprise, before a soft smile spreads across his face, clearly delighted by the unexpected conversation. The white creature, now holding the cactus, introduces itself as Niju and affectionately tells the plant how cute it is, while the cactus confirms its name is Ahuru. The cactus, Ahuru, responds with gratitude, thanking Niju and complimenting its cuteness in return. Estio reaches out, gently touching the cactus, and notes with surprise that it isn't prickly at all. He listens intently to the potted cactus, which communicates its understanding that usefulness brings better treatment, wondering if such a thing is truly possible. The plant confirms its sentience, adding that while it desires to move freely, it cannot yet. The butler, observing the exchange, questions the very notion of such an ability, his skepticism evident. Meanwhile, in a distant, arid landscape, the white creature, Niju, contemplates the power of longevity and fervent desire to grant movement. Back in the room, Estio turns to his dog, Hiru, chiding him for returning despite being told not to. A close-up reveals his intense focus. The butler, walking away, dismisses the boy's apparent conversation with the animals as a lapse in memory. A soft step echoes through the room. As the butler questions Estio, asking if he's speaking to a zombie, he recalls the Viscount's words, noting that while Estio claims to read animals, he can't even teach them to speak. A smug smile plays on the butler's lips. Meanwhile, the white-furred creature, Niju, sits calmly on a chair. Estio, hearing the butler's words, thinks to himself, what a monster. The butler continues, mentioning that Estio even claimed to teach plants to speak. He considers the white-furred pet, thinking it should be quite rare, as Niju's eye glows faintly red. With a challenging grin, he asks Estio, is it? He stands silently, listening to the butler's continued skepticism, a quiet tension filling the air between them. The butler gestures dismissively, declaring that a creature of such size would be costly to maintain, and offers to simply take it off his hands. Internally, Estio fumes, wondering what kind of imbecile he is dealing with. Standing by a grand window, Estio listens to an unseen offer, a voice insisting that what he possesses is not for sale. A quiet thought of how shrewd the other party is crosses his mind. As the butler, with a knowing smile, acknowledges Estio's unique ability to read minds, urging him to simply take what's offered, since negotiation is futile. The offer is a substantial 10 gold coins. Estio, however, dismisses the notion, clarifying that Niju is not a child, and subtly hinting that he's not one to settle for too little. The butler, undeterred, presses him further, asking just how much he truly desires. Estio's bright blue eye glows with an intense, calculating light. A voice rings out, accusing Estio of disrespecting a noble. He retorts, explaining that he held back, despite the insults to his family and the man's loitering around his home, not wanting to resort to violence. Nearby, Niju whimpers, its small body trembling with distress, the chain around its neck rattling. Before Estio can react further, the butler forces him to the ground, declaring that he has no choice but to punish his wicked behavior, as Estio struggles, calling him a mean old man. The butler presses Estio's head down, demanding to know if he truly believed he would escape punishment for his actions, his grip firm. But Niju, its red eyes flaring with an intense glow, lets out a fierce snarl, warning the butler not to bully Estio. With a sharp crack, the chain around its neck snaps under the sudden surge of power. The butler recoils, startled by the creature's unexpected ferocity, his hand instinctively rising in defense. In a swift reversal, Niju now holds the butler pinned to the ground, while Estio stands over them, asking if the creature is all right. Having just been protected by Niju, Estio looks back with a slight smirk, assuring everyone he's fine. Thompson, however, remains unyielding, declaring that the creature has pride and offering 50 gold for it, while the young man, still on the ground, demands to know what he's doing. The merchant then turns to his guards, ordering them to take the creature back to the breeding grounds immediately, threatening to send them to the guild if they fail. Estio, his expression hardening, reiterates his refusal to sell his companion. The butler, enraged by the defiance, shouts at him, questioning his sanity for daring to raise his voice to a noble. Without waiting for a response, the butler raises his hand, preparing to strike. But before the blow can land, a swift, sharp sound cuts through the air, and Estio looks up in surprise. The butler is suddenly on the ground, subdued, as Niju stands protectively over him, the other onlookers in the background reacting with shock. Estio, his gaze firm, realizes the gravity of the situation, thinking that if it has come to this, he must act. An armored guard, weapon drawn, demands the surrender of the two children. But before he can finish, a sudden, unexpected force makes him gasp in surprise. His arm is violently twisted and mangled, blood erupting as he screams in agony. The force sends him crashing to the ground, his body convulsing from the immense pain. A dark, clawed hand, dripping with the guard's blood, reveals the true attacker. The other armored guards stare in stunned silence, their faces etched with disbelief and fear at the sudden, brutal display. Thompson's fist clenches in fury, his voice laced with venom as he questions the audacity of anyone who would harm a servant of the Fabian house. He surveys the chaotic scene, the injured guard and the butler lying on the ornate floor, while Estio and Niju stand defiantly nearby. Pointing a furious finger at the young man, Thompson declares that Estio tried to kill him and demands his immediate imprisonment. He watches as Niju, consumed by a raw, primal fury, lashes out, its voice echoing with resentment. "You were the ones who called me a monster," it snarls, its eyes glowing with a fierce light. "So why are you people acting more like monsters yourselves?" With a surge of blue energy, the creature launches itself forward, a blur of motion towards the armored guards. One guard barely has time to register the incoming threat, his face contorting in surprise. Then, a deafening impact reverberates through the hall, as Niju crashes into the line of defense. A guttural growl rips from its throat, its sharp teeth bared in a terrifying display of aggression. The creature becomes a crimson blur, a whirlwind of destruction. Estio watches the unfolding chaos, his expression a mix of shock and concern as Niju's rampage continues. Despite the violence, he remains rooted to the spot, his red boots firm on the patterned rug, contemplating his next move. A grand hall, bathed in light, becomes the stage for a furious confrontation as Jeremian, a man of stern countenance, demands to know the cause of the commotion. His back to the viewer, he strides away, his presence commanding attention. A child's desperate cry of "Father" echoes through the space, met only by Jeremian's dismissive retort, "You foolish child." His face contorted in a snarl, the man's anger is undeniable. He laments that an interference has ruined something that should have naturally come under his control. Clutching a small, crying Estio, Jeremian's harsh words are directed at the distressed child. His gaze sharpens, and he silences the boy with a stern, "Silence, you fool." With a heavy sigh, he commands his knights to clean up this situation, before turning his attention to the beast. Flanked by his guards, Jeremian issues a chilling decree. "Capture the boy alive, and as for the beast, I don't care what happens to it." The heavy, rhythmic clang of armored boots echoes through the grand hall, each step deliberate and unyielding on the patterned rug. A knight in gleaming silver armor stands tall, his presence a silent, imposing threat. Below him, a gauntlet hand reaches down, a faint red glow emanating from its grasp. Jeremian stands at the heart of the commotion, his stern gaze fixed on the small, white creature Niju, while a young Estio watches from the background, his face etched with fear. Flanked by his knights, Jeremian surveys the unfolding scene with cold authority. He grips Niju by the scruff of its neck, the creature whimpering, "Niju is sorry. Niju just wanted to be Estio's side." Jeremian's voice cuts through the air, sharp and unforgiving, as he dismisses the apology, "Don't apologize." The monster's actions are clear. Niju's red eyes glow with despair, its small face contorted in sorrow. A surge of red energy erupts around the creature, as a final, desperate thought echoes, "This is the end for Niju." As the red energy surged around the creature, a blinding white explosion erupted, throwing everything into chaos. The force sent Niju hurtling backward, a pained gasp escaping the creature as it realized the gravity of its situation, regretting not having simply taken the money when it had the chance. Standing firm amidst the dissipating smoke, Jeremian looked down, his expression unyielding. Nearby, young Estio watched the brutal display, his face contorted in shock and distress. The one who needs to apologize isn't Niju, he thinks, as Estio looks down at two figures sprawled on the ground, recognizing them instantly. A surge of power radiates from him, his expression hardening with resolve. The two figures on the ground recoil in shock, one of them barely managing to voice their disbelief. Suddenly, a new group of armored individuals appears, their leader issuing a harsh command to eliminate him. Before they can even react, Estio moves, a crimson glow emanating from his hand as he closes the distance. He strikes, the impact sending one of the armored figures reeling back with a sharp crack. He struggles, suspended by the neck as his assailant's grip tightens, a guttural cry escaping him. The powerful grip holds him aloft, his feet dangling uselessly above the ground. But within him, something shifts, his bright blue eyes flaring with an intense, otherworldly glow. With a sudden burst of crimson energy, he retaliates, burying a glowing fist into his attacker's face. The force of the blow sends the muscular man reeling, his head snapping back as another armored figure steps forward. Stunned and disoriented, Baris cries out his own name in disbelief, while Estio demands to know what is happening. Before he can react, a volley of dark, sharp projectiles slams into him, tearing through his clothes and drawing blood. Dark liquid splatters across his chest, a stark contrast against his attire. His face now streaked with blood, his bright blue eyes burn with an even fiercer, more determined glow. The aftermath of the struggle leaves Baris sprawled on the ornate floor, while other armored figures stand ready. Yet, he quickly regains his footing, confronting the young man with a sharp gasp. A metallic whisper fills the air, as Baris draws his sword with a decisive clang. Around them, the other armored assailants lie defeated, their forms scattered across the ground. Wounded and struggling, the young man can only manage a pained utterance, as Baris stands firm, dominating the scene over his fallen opponent. His face, now streaked with blood, reflects the brutal toll of the fight. A young girl, Sarah, cries out in distress, her voice trembling as she calls for her father and the elder healer. Nearby, a man in an ornate, dark outfit stands impassively, his gaze fixed on the several figures lying motionless on the ground around him. Sarah's face contorts in a silent scream, her eyes wide with horror at the unfolding tragedy. A swift, almost imperceptible movement, and the man ascends the grand staircase as Sarah tumbles down them, her name echoing from his lips as she falls. He catches her arm, pulling her up to face him, his cold question hanging heavy in the air. Are you satisfied now? Later, or perhaps in a memory, the man stands alone in a different setting, clad in a modern suit, reflecting on his survival, the countless others lost, and the burden of being the sole one to return. His hand reaches out towards a much younger Sarah, curled up on the ground, a silent testament to the reason he had managed to maintain himself through it all. As his hand gently clasps hers, a dark realization dawns upon him. The very reason for his existence, the anchor that held him, never truly existed in the first place, leaving him free to act as he wished. With a hint of blood on his lip, he looks down, agreeing to cease his actions, yet his voice carries a mocking tone, as if finding amusement in the situation. He stands over Baris, who kneels before him in submission, a small, potted plant held casually in his hand. Baris's face contorts in a mixture of fear and desperation, his eyes wide with terror. Lying defeated on the ground, Baris's thoughts accuse him, calling him a wicked punk and a murderer. Estio dismisses the accusation with a calm, almost mocking expression, his words cutting through the air. Thompson, too, is confronted, his face etched with anger as he hears the command, understanding that this is not a request. Estio remains impassive, the small plant still clutched in his hand. Thompson's expression shifts from anger to one of utter shock, his eyes widening in disbelief. Estio stands over the fallen figures of Baris and Thompson, a silent testament to his newfound resolve. He turns his back on them, his name echoing in the quiet space. As the large black cat, Suki, begins to move away, each heavy pawfall resonates with a quiet power. The creature leading the way with an unhurried grace. What are you spaced out for? Estio asks, his voice calm but firm. You can't carry him out by yourself. He glances back at the unconscious forms, then turns his attention forward, instructing the beast, just do as I say. Suki will get tired, he explains. I'll just walk out of here. Carrying you two won't make a difference. A soft sound escapes him, a quiet acknowledgement as he prepares for the journey ahead. Settling onto Suki's back, he murmurs, I'll be in your care, though. With a firm grip, he commands, hold on tight. Suki surges forward, carrying him into the depths, the world blurring into streaks of darkness as they accelerate, leaving everything behind in their wake. The vast, open landscape stretches out beneath the twilight sky. Across this expanse, Estio rides atop Suki, the powerful black beast carrying him swiftly forward. He glances towards a small, white creature beside them, before turning his attention back to Suki. A moment later, Estio reacts with a sharp, what? He reflects on his past, acknowledging the ease with which he's taken lives. I can hardly believe I did that. I've killed more people like that. Yet he felt nothing, a chilling realization that leaves him asking, so what? As they continue their journey, Suki's powerful strides cover the ground with effortless grace. The beast's eye gleams with a fierce intelligence as it offers its own stark perspective. If it were me, I would have killed all of them. Suki's voice, firm and unwavering, continues to resonate. There's no reason to hold grudges against those who harmed you, and then refuse to take something precious from them. Estio stands, listening intently as the cat adds, you're too soft. At the end of the day, the one who's harmed is the loser. Suki, perched on his shoulder, lets out a soft humph. I guess you could say I'm a little more experienced at harming another person. After all, if I could do that, then a fellow monster whose mana is above my rank wouldn't have been able to pierce my barrier. A sudden realization dawns on Estio, his eyes widening in shock. Ugh, wait. Suki's voice echoes in his mind, a slight pause before admitting, that was more than one thing. My bad. The world blurs around them as they continue their journey through a snow-covered forest, the cold air biting at their faces. Estio's frustration finally boils over, his voice cutting through the silence. What the hell are you even saying? Their path leads them to a large, imposing building, its dark timber and numerous windows standing stark against the white landscape. An official with long green hair explains that the order came directly from the guild's high-ups. A man, clearly agitated, shouts about being ignored, his frustration palpable. Equally exasperated, the green-haired official curses loudly in response to the man's outburst. Both the angry man and a woman with glasses are taken aback, questioning the sudden appearance of a branch manager. The woman tries to de-escalate the situation, asking for a moment of calm. A document reveals a guild summon order for a special support department affiliate named Estio. Now holding the order, the woman realizes the summon is for someone with abilities above her rank, and that it's for a 10-day period. A close-up on a door emphasizes the man's internal thought that Estio cannot simply be taken away from them. The man addresses the woman, confirming her title as branch manager, as they both look at the summon order. Having been summoned away, Estio finally returns, his presence immediately noted by those awaiting him. Approaching the mustached man and the woman with glasses, he offers a quick apology for his tardiness. His uniform, though still pristine, shows subtle signs of his recent ordeal, as one of them begins to speak, haltingly. His hands, too, bear faint marks of his journey. But the mustached man simply pats his shoulder, offering a word of praise. Looking away, a slight bruise visible beneath his eye, Estio questions their lack of inquiry into his recent whereabouts. The mustached man and the woman with glasses exchange a look, both expressing how worried they had been. His face still showing a hint of disbelief, Estio lets out a frustrated huff as he walks away. As he stands before the mustached man, a sense of unease washes over him, realizing that despite his expectations of being questioned, the atmosphere is far from accusatory. The mustached man, his expression a mix of relief and concern, asks about his companion, wondering where his furry friend might be. Estio, still slightly annoyed by the unexpected warmth, clarifies that the man is referring to his white-furred monster companion, not just any pet. He explains that the creature suffered some injuries and is currently resting. The mustached man, now joined by a woman with red hair and glasses, expresses relief that it's nothing major, while the woman adds that they were worried sick. Estio, still taken aback by their concern, simply offers an apology, his expression unreadable. Meanwhile, a green-haired man in formal attire, perhaps the Galatian branch manager Hawk himself, stands amidst bookshelves, his gaze fixed on something unseen, a thoughtful expression on his face. Back with the others, the mustached man and the red-haired woman exchange a look of continued concern, their worry for Estio still evident. A single, ethereal green wing flutters into view, its delicate feathers catching the light. As the head of the Galatian branch, the one known for his healing ability, he murmurs, "Angel?" His gaze remains fixed on the unseen phenomenon. A look of profound surprise etched across his face. Later, the rhythmic clatter of a carriage wheel echoes through the quiet. As Hawk travels onward. Inside, he gazes out the window, his expression thoughtful. A deep sigh escapes him as he laments. Why did you have to go so easily? He sits at a desk, his thoughts heavy, knowing that, as long as I'm in charge, I can't. He finds himself unable to reject the decisions handed down from headquarters, despite his own misgivings. It was the same way back then, a recurring pattern he couldn't escape. Hawk acknowledges his current position, feeling both powerful and constrained, grateful for the opportunity, yet burdened by its limitations. As his carriage rolls along the winding road, he finds a small comfort in having found a new place to belong. Estio looks up, a realization dawning on him. He stares blankly ahead, his mind still processing the implications. An internal voice echoes, reminding him that he is too compliant, too obedient to the whims of others. It questions why he cannot simply refuse, why he cannot express his dislike for things, why he cannot just say no. A concerned thought asks what is troubling him, but he quickly dismisses it, insisting it is nothing, merely his imagination. He reflects on these thoughts, realizing he's been up all night, and even Uhuru must be upset with him, offering a quiet apology to the creature. Finally, he silences the internal debate with a firm command, resignedly accepting his own nature. Suddenly, a familiar figure appears, catching his attention with a sharp exclamation, pulling him out of his deep contemplation. Hawk, his expression sharp, inquires if Estio had been communicating with the plant, to which the young man confirms. Impressed by the revelation, Hawk remarks on Estio's unexpected ability to read minds, then directly challenges him, asking if he can read his own thoughts at that very moment. A sudden, disorienting rush of sensation washes over Estio. His hair now a stark white as the pressure mounts. A low, rumbling sound escapes him, as his head throbs with an unbearable ache. His eyes, wide with panic, reflect the overwhelming sensory input. He instinctively covers his mouth, a choked gasp escaping him as his body trembles. Slumped on a plush seat, Estio stares blankly ahead, utterly drained by the experience. The overwhelming sensation finally takes its toll, leaving him unconscious and sprawled across the furniture. Hawk, his expression etched with concern, wonders if he shouldn't have pressed Estio so hard. Meanwhile, Estio, overwhelmed and embarrassed, cries out, begging him to stop reading his mind. Hawk, still observing the distressed boy, asks if he will continue to react this way, before confirming that he has understood and can now cease the mind reading. Later, Estio is seen peacefully asleep, nestled against Niju, who softly murmurs, as a voice encourages him to sleep more, reminding him of the long journey ahead. Hawk watches them, inquiring about Estio's condition, who is still deeply asleep. Estio, still half asleep, responds, offering Niju as a pillow for anyone who needs to rest. He assures them it's fine, urging them to hurry and enjoy Niju's soft fur. Hawk watches the two sleeping figures, a faint smile gracing his lips. As Estio rests, his hair, once dark blue, now shines with a striking white and gray hue, glowing faintly with residual energy. Resting comfortably against the soft fur of the white beast, he murmurs a quiet thank you. Meanwhile, Hawk observes the pair, a thoughtful expression on his face as he considers the scene before him. He remarks that the three of them, including himself, appear to form a family. The white beast's massive form provides a comforting presence, its legs anchoring the small group. Outside, a heavy rain begins to fall, its rhythmic drumming against the roof a constant companion. The carriage continues its journey through the downpour, its wheels splashing through puddles on the road. Back inside, Hawk, concerned for his companion's well-being, inquires if he feels cold, offering to adjust the temperature. With a gentle hand resting on the white beast, Estio assures him that he is perfectly fine. Still recovering, Estio rests comfortably, his eyes half closed, as Hawk sits beside him, wondering aloud if he should offer food or drink. He muses that this current comfort is far superior to his previous living conditions in the attic. Meanwhile, Hawk's thoughts drift to a different kind of comfort, wishing for the wave-flavored candies from the branch manager's office. Outside, the carriage continues its journey, splashing through the heavy rain. Inside, a book lies open, its pages filled with intricate script. The downpour outside creates a rhythmic drumming, visible through the carriage window. A small potted cactus sits nearby, as Hawk suggests that this is the perfect condition to tell ghost stories. Estio remains still, while Hawk ponders the nature of fear, concluding that humans are the truly frightening ones. He emphasizes his point, gesturing towards the small cactus. He sleeps soundly, a soft snore escaping him, while Estio lies awake beside him. The rhythmic sound continues, much to Estio's quiet annoyance, as the man snores openly. Curled against Estio's ear, the white beast, Niju, remains undisturbed. Estio gently touches her, murmuring for her to return to sleep if the noise had woken her. But Niju's eyes suddenly flash crimson, her senses picking up on something unsettling swarming near the carriage. Indistinct shapes blur past the window, and Estio's own eyes glow red as a profound sense of unease washes over him. From another part of the carriage, a woman with dark hair looks out, confirming the grim reality. It is an ambush, and they are after the woman and child within. Inside the carriage, Hawk questions their predicament, wondering how many enemies they face and if escape is even possible, while Estio can only stammer in response. The threat is identified as harpies, creatures with unknown capabilities. Hawk ponders why such monsters, which shouldn't appear in this region, are here, admitting he has no answer. Even using the horses would be futile, as the encirclement is too tight and slow to break through, leaving them with no viable options. Realizing the harpies are targeting the horses, Estio moves with determination towards the carriage exit. Before he can act, Niju declares she will go out to investigate herself. Estio's eyes widen in sudden surprise. He reaches out, attempting to stop her, but can only manage a choked partial word. With a burst of incredible speed, Niju leaps from the carriage. Having launched herself from the carriage, Niju lands with a powerful, ground-shaking impact, the force of her descent echoing with a loud thud. Inside the vehicle, Estio flinches, his eyes wide with a mix of surprise and concern at the sudden commotion outside. A distant, eerie shriek echoes across the landscape, carrying a sense of foreboding. Inside, Hawk expresses his concern, believing that facing the harpies alone seems a bit much, even for Estio. Estio, however, quickly dismisses the idea, insisting he's merely a delivery man with no combat power. His expression is one of mild exasperation, as if this is a conversation he's had many times before. Hawk, undeterred, presses on, reminding Estio that he is, in fact, a combat type. Estio's eyes narrow slightly, his resolve firm as he states his absolute intention not to fight them. Hawk watches him go, a quiet sigh escaping him as Estio exits the room. Later, lying in bed, Estio's gaze drifts upward, his expression now different, carrying a weight it hadn't before. A sharp, distressed cry escapes Hawk, his voice laced with urgency as he tries to convey the gravity of the situation. He calls out to Estio, his plea echoing with a desperate edge, insisting that the harpies are savage beasts that move in groups. Below them, shadowy, winged figures with glowing red eyes swirl ominously, a chilling visual representation of the threat he describes. He explains that they are not an enemy one can defeat with brute force alone, being fundamentally different from absent-minded avians like himself. His face contorts with anguish as he pleads, begging Estio to listen to him. The white beast, surrounded by a swarm of the red, winged creatures, stands as a stark example of the overwhelming numbers, proving that simply killing a few will not end the threat. Hawk's voice rises in a desperate warning, cut short as he tries to explain that they are not getting massacred, and it would be better to just run away. As a red harpy-like creature darts away, the urgency of his words hangs heavy in the air. As the warning hung in the air, a chilling screech echoed, and red feathers began to drift down around him. His eyes widened in alarm, the sound growing louder as the feathers continued their descent. Then, a sudden impact, and a spray of blood erupted around his face. Estio watched, frozen in disbelief, as Hawk's gaze shot upward, a silent question in his eyes before they widened in pure shock. Before he could react, a red-skinned harpy lunged, its fangs sinking deep into Hawk's shoulder, who cried out Estio's name in agony. The creature let out a guttural snarl, its red eyes gleaming with savage hunger. Estio's mind raced, the scene before him crystallizing into a single, horrifying truth. This was a massacre. Despite his own pain, Hawk's concern immediately shifted, warning Estio about his shoulder and the creature's deadly fangs. Blood welled from the deep bite wound, staining his clothes as it dripped to the ground. A sharp, red beak lunges forward, a harbinger of the danger that had just struck. From the shadows, more of the monstrous birds emerge, their piercing screeches echoing through the air. A whole swarm of harpies descends, their red forms a blur against the green foliage. One particularly large harpy looms over Estio, its shadow engulfing him from behind. But before it can strike, the white beast intervenes, a powerful paw slamming into the harpy with crushing force. She pins the creature down, her grip unyielding. With a final cry, the harpy is flung away, tumbling helplessly through the air. As the threat momentarily recedes, Estio stands defensively, his eyes glowing with an inner light, a small harpy fleeing into the distance. He considers the value of his own life, thinking that compared to it, the cost of this situation is cheap. As he stands over the white beast, she softly declines an unspoken offer, her voice a gentle refusal. But the respite is short-lived, as a red, clawed hand descends from above, a chilling voice announcing that more enemies are on their way. Looking down, he finds himself and the white beast completely encircled, a menacing ring of harpies closing in from all sides. A wave of doubt washes over him, wondering if he can truly face such a multitude alone. His expression hardens with sudden resolve, his eyes widening as a new determination takes hold. With a surge of power, his bright blue eyes begin to glow intensely. A single, commanding word escapes his lips, a firm halt echoing with newfound authority. Around him, vibrant green and dark blue energies begin to swirl, manifesting his awakened power. With his eyes burning with an intense blue light, Estio stands firm, a powerful aura swirling around him as he confronts the menacing harpies. A chilling thought crosses his mind, wondering if he should eliminate them entirely. Instead, with a commanding gesture, his hand glowing with the same blue energy, he orders one of the creatures to retreat. The sheer force of his will, amplified by his awakened power, sends the entire flock of harpies scattering, their forms shrinking into the distance. From a short distance away, Hawk and an older man watch the impossible scene unfold, the former still bleeding from a previous encounter. A profound shock registers on Hawk's face as he questions the unbelievable sight before him. His power now subsided, Estio turns, his expression resolute, and calmly directs them towards their next destination. The white beast, initially surprised by his display of power, responds with an enthusiastic affirmation. As they make their way towards the waiting carriage, a sense of renewed strength and capability emanates from Estio, more potent than ever before. Still emanating a vibrant green energy, Estio stands resolute as unseen forces flinch away from his presence. One of the red harpy creatures lies defeated on the ground, a testament to the sudden power unleashed. A soft, fading sound echoes through the dark, cloudy night, marking the complete dispersal of the aerial threat. As the swirling dark energy around him settles, Estio remains composed, the entire swarm of harpies having been scattered in an instant. Observing the swift resolution, Hawk expresses his disbelief at how easily the confrontation ended, now understanding the headquarters' intense interest in this individual. Turning to the carriage, Estio calmly addresses the white beast inside, calling her Niju. He then asks if she sustained any injuries during the encounter. From a short distance, Hawk watches the young man, a profound sense of apprehension beginning to form. The sheer power and control he just witnessed lead Hawk to a chilling conclusion. This person is truly dangerous. Under the cold, pale crescent moon, a silent night descends. As a lone carriage makes its way through a snow-covered landscape. Meanwhile, Estio stirs in his sleep, a quiet grumble escaping him as he finds something utterly annoying. His eyes flutter open with a soft rustle, a slight flinch crossing his face. A voice echoes in his mind, accusing him of always acting on his own, a trait that makes humans so frustrating. He looks up to find a sleek black cat, Suki, perched on his chest, its gaze fixed upon him. Suki continues, urging him to get some sleep and warning him not to foolishly run around and get bitten by monsters again. With its yellow eyes glowing faintly, Suki watches as Estio offers a quiet apology. He hears a voice, stern and unwavering, telling him not to apologize, that he's the one who should be angry, having been bitten by monsters. A troubled expression crosses his face as the words sink in. From the window, the black cat's glowing eyes fix on him, the telepathic message clear. Estio, don't get bitten anymore. Far away, a grand carriage makes its way through a snow-covered forest, its journey silent and determined. A small, potted cactus seems to offer a cheerful, if unexpected, greeting. Back in his room, Estio, his arm bandaged, looks up, confused by the sudden shift in his companion's demeanor. As the black cat, now closer, extends a paw in a gesture of greeting. He stares at the cat, a question forming on his lips. You know how to walk? Were you shocked that a cactus started walking around after you left, huh? A voice asks, as a small potted cactus with stubby legs shuffles across the floor, the plant moving with a soft rustle. Estio's eyes widen in disbelief, his mouth agape as he cries out, "You can walk now?" He holds the small, sentient plant, its pot now firmly in his grasp. A grateful smile spreading across his face as he points at it, exclaiming, "Thank you. Thank you." Meanwhile, in another location, Hawk stirs awake in his bed, a confused, "What's?" escaping his lips. Back with Estio, he giggles softly, continuing his playful interaction with the now slightly glowing cactus. Hawk's expression remains one of deep thought, a soft, "ah," indicating a dawning realization. He now understands that the cactus can walk, having been able to comprehend a few words from a single utterance, after all. He watches the red harpies soar through the sky, and a thought crosses his mind. If it's Estio, it wouldn't be too surprising if he became friends with a dragon, too. Later, Hawk sits with Estio, reflecting on the boy's unusual gifts. He muses that Estio possesses an ability to read hearts and understand them. As he speaks, a soft green aura emanates from his back, forming ethereal wings, highlighting his own unique connection to the world. Estio simply replies, "It's cool." A moment later, Estio, looking surprised, asks for clarification, to which Hawk responds with a gentle, knowing smile, "Your mind." The scene shifts to a quiet, open field where a carriage rests, hinting at travel and new destinations. Later, Estio shares a meal with the white beast, both enjoying their food, and he thinks to himself, "Now that I think about it." The sentient cactus, a small, spiky figure, walks across the floor, its independent movement a testament to its mysterious nature. As the sentient cactus stirs beside him, it offers a quiet question, wondering if he needs water. But the cactus declines for itself, stating it is already full. Estio looks on, a hint of surprise in his expression, as he asks if it's truly full already. The cactus clarifies, explaining that it's not truly full, but rather, to put it simply. His thoughts drift back to yesterday, when Estio had returned, prompting a concerned yes from the cactus. The memory reveals Estio, chest stained with blood, as the cactus asks why he was bleeding so much, to which he simply replies, "I was." Deep gashes mar his arm, blood welling from the wounds. A steady stream of blood drips downward. Finally, the blood lands on the cactus, staining its green surface. The sentient cactus confesses, its voice surprisingly clear, that it drank some of Estio's blood. A moment of stunned silence hangs in the air as Estio processes the revelation. He carefully lifts the potted plant, bringing it closer for a better look. His voice laced with disbelief, he questions if it truly meant his blood, to which the cactus cheerfully confirms. A fresh bandage wraps around his arm, a stark reminder of the recent injury that had caused the bleeding. From the side, both the white beast and Hawk look on, their expressions a mixture of shock and confusion at the unfolding conversation. Suddenly, the cactus's tone shifts to one of frantic explanation, urging them not to misunderstand. It quickly clarifies that it couldn't help itself back then, and its actions were not intentional. The plant continues to stammer, explaining that the blood simply happened to land on it, and then, it proudly announces its first bloom, prompting Estio to question if the flower's appearance is linked to it having consumed his blood. From the sidelines, Hawk interjects, reminding everyone that the more pressing issue is a plant that drank blood and can now walk. Ignoring the interruption, the cactus extends a small, glowing flower towards Estio, who accepts the unexpected gift with a simple thank you, as the plant giggles in delight. The cactus seems to ponder, wondering if it should be the one expressing gratitude. However, as the flower rests on Estio's arm, a dark, spiky mark begins to spread across his skin, solidifying into an intricate, ominous pattern. Unaware of the strange side effect, the cactus proudly presents the flower once more. A distressed cry escapes the cactus, its voice filled with alarm as it calls out Estio's name. He turns sharply, his eyes wide with alarm, pointing to his own bandaged shoulder and exclaiming about a light.